Cocaine.
And we're live. What's up, y'all?
Hi. You could have warned us, Mikey.
I don't do that. It's your own damn fault. I'm gonna mute them. Let's do a little soundboard check.
Oh, here we come.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Sounds like that's working. Let's let's see if this
Push your goddamn button.
Hey, look, there's Trump and Kamala.
You heard what she said.
You heard what she said.
The car, dude.
You can't park the car there.
I know nothing. Nothing.
Ollie's contribution. Oh.
Pretty soon we're gonna become this country.
Pretty soon we're gonna become this country.
All right, here we go.
Oh, she's shaking his hand.
Thank you.
Yep.
Don't touch him skin to skin.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's
He
an
was
honor
so
to have you
right.
both
He's
here
like,
tonight.
he's like, what the fuck? She walked over and shook my hand.
He was on. He didn't know what to do.
I want to begin tonight with the
She's
issue
black.
that
She's
people
attacking
can
me.
say is their
I
number
was
one
listening
issue,
on the news.
and that
Apparently
is the
these two
economy
people
and
have
the
never
cost
met
of living
before.
in this
Right.
country.
Yes,
Vice
hopefully,
President
yeah.
Harris, you and President
Because of
Trump
January
were elected
6th.
4 years ago. Opponent on the stage here
Turn the,
tonight, often
turn the
asks
volume
his
up.
supporters,
It's
are you
all
better
the way
off
up, so
than
y'all
you were
shut
4
up.
years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe
Yes.
Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who
the
has
first
a plan
dodge.
that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition,
Missing
the
those headphones now, aren't you,
aspirations,
Dutch?
the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for
Lie.
many people. We know that young
That's not
families
true.
need support
Don't know if it's
to
shortage
raise
of
their
homes.
children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest
Hey.
child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so
Hey,
that those young
Kira.
families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion,
Buy
one
weed
of them
and drugs.
is small businesses.
Yep.
I was actually, my mother
Speaking
raised
of.
my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on
You
the
know, I
other
was
hand,
just about to
his
reapply
plan
my
is to
paperwork
do
for
what
Mike
he has
Family
done
Production.
before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20%
I like that they're doing this
tax
at the National
on
Constitution
everyday
Center.
goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that.
Stupid.
We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay
He's
us
so
back
dumb.
for all that
She
we've
said
done
it's.
for the world.
She said, "I'm calling
And
it the sales tax." She
Tariff
didn't say
will
it
be
was a sales
substantial in
tax.
some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much
And they
money.
gave your
could-
fucking
it would
daughter
totally
a patent.
destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a
The farmers had to
terrible
sell
economy because
everything.
Inflation has,
Yeah.
which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the
Very
worst in our
few.
nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people
He means
pouring
rich
into our
people.
country from
Yeah.
prisons
So-
and jails,
so you-
from mental institutions and insane asylums.
AKA
And they're
your
coming in
house.
and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening.
You don't
see
even
what's
like
happening
unions.
with towns throughout the United
That's
States.
why you're friends
You
with
look at
Elon.
Springfield,
He
Ohio.
pretends.
You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are
In
taking
Illinois.
over
In
the-
Illinois.
taking over
Will
buildings.
County.
They're going in violently. These are the people
DuPage
that
County.
she and Biden let into our country.
Biden.
And they're destroying our country.
Here we go with
They're
the immigration.
dangerous. They're at
Drink,
the
he said
highest
Biden.
level of criminality. And we have to
man,
get them
I
out.
don't
We have to
have
get them
to.
out fast.
It took
I
him 6
created one of
minutes
the
to get
greatest
into the
economies
show
in the history
and
of our
2 minutes
country.
into his talk.
I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate.
Don't worry.
but, I
Yeah.
would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to.
Turn
Let's
his mic
talk
on.
about what
Turn his
Donald
mic
Trump
on.
left us. Donald Trump left us the worst
This is what you're supposed to do.
unemployment since the Great
Talk about this.
Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic
He ain't
in
got
a
no
century.
lips.
Donald Trump left us
The
the
joke.
worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done
He's
is
proud of
clean
that.
up Donald Trump's mess.
Yeah, he likes that last
What
part.
we
I love
have
the look
done
on his
and what
face.
I
He's
intend
like-
to do
sometimes
is
he'll be like,
build
"Yeah."
on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes
Yeah,
of
maybe.
the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear
She's gonna
from
tell
the
y'all.
same
I
old
love it.
tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends
like,
on
"Yep,
implementing if he
gonna do
were
that."
elected again.
I just call
I
it
believe very
Agenda
strongly
47.
that the American people want
Just call
a
it Project
president
25.
who understands the importance of bringing
That's
us
false.
together, knowing we have so
I am
much
not
more in
doing
common
Project
than what separates
2025.
us.
I'm doing
And I
Project
pledge to you to be a president for all
25.
Americans.
Yeah.
President Trump will get
2-5.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025.
Bullshit.
That's out there. I haven't
Liar.
read it. I don't want to read it purposely.
You can't
I'm not going to
read.
read it.
I haven't
This was
read
a
it,
group of
but
people
some-
that got
tell us
together.
what
They
the-
came
He
up
knows
with some
nothing.
ideas. I
True.
guess some good
He's
stuff.
lying
He
on
doesn't want to
purpose.
read
But
it.
it
He's
makes
lying
no
by
difference. I have
omission.
nothing to do.
with
Everybody
the
knows
Schultz.
I'm an open
He's like,
book.
"Don't show it to
Everybody
me."
knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially.
For
and
rich
create
people.
a great
And drill,
economy
baby,
like I
drill.
did before. We had the greatest
You're right.
economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died. Has there been anything
What?
like it? We did a phenomenal job
He
with
means
the
the
pandemic.
Spanish flu.
We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
The
We
stock
made
market is higher
ventilators for
now.
the entire
Yeah.
world. We got
Right now.
gowns,
Way
we
higher,
got
yeah.
masks. We did things that nobody thought possible.
What?
And people give me credit for rebuilding the
Look.
military. They give me credit for a lot
What?
of things, but not enough
Rebuilding
credit
the
for the great job
military.
we
Where'd
did
it
with
go?
the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it
That's
bounced
not
back, and it
false.
went to their benefit. But I
That-
was
that
the one
point's
that
not
created
false.
them. They know it, and so
A
does
job is a
everybody
job
else.
is a
Vice
job.
President Harris, I'll let you respond.
What they miss?
So,
How are you going
Donald Trump
to?
has no
How are you
plan
going
for
to
you.
take the
and
position?
Hold on, hold
when
on,
you
hold on.
look
You
at
took too
his
long. You missed your
economic
window.
plan, it's all about tax breaks
That's why
for
we
the
need to build a
richest people.
pause.
I am offering
Okay, go.
Look, it's very reasonable to be able to say that you do not like. I don't blame Trump for COVID, obviously,
I do.
right? We can be critical of Trump's reactions to COVID and his policies to COVID, but we don't. But let me land the plane, and then you can respond. If I'm not going to say COVID was Trump's fault, how
Okay,
is
you
it? And Republicans are also going to say, yeah, COVID wasn't Trump's fault. They'll tell you some bullshit that it was like a left-wing conspiracy cooked up by Nancy Pelosi in a Chinese lab.
Say your
Other
point,
bullshit.
not everybody else's
You
point.
you can't take that stance and then hold Biden accountable for the exact same thing that you're saying wasn't your fault but happened under your term. If you're going to take the position that Trump's not responsible for COVID, you cannot blame Biden and Harris for the global aftermath of that thing that you're not taking accountability for.
This
That
is a
makes
very
no
long
sense
answer,
whatsoever.
Dutch. You are ruining the format, Mr. Soapbox.
That is the
Quickly.
correct answer, though.
Yeah.
Quickly, sir. Less than 15 words. These got to be pithy. That's your challenge for tonight.
Orange
Yeah.
Man bad.
You know who
Or
you
being
have
dead.
on this show, and that's not going to happen.
Start drinking.
what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our
1.25
country, if
speed to
not
catch
the
up.
world, have reviewed
Is Irish Swede, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Best economist in the country. It's Irish Swede, obviously, hands
Irish
down.
Seed. That's right.
Easily,
Yep.
easy answer.
The
our
miracle man
relative
himself.
plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually
What
expose
the Wharton
the
School of
deficit.
Finance?
16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite.
He has Trump University coming back.
I went to the Wharton School of Finance.
His microphone
and
was cut
many
off.
of those professors,
Yeah,
the top
he asked
professors,
for them to turn it
think
back
my
on.
plan
They
is
should
a
do that.
brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth,
A
our
lot of
value in the
people told me
country. It's
it's
going
a
to
great
make
plan.
people want to be able to go
plan,
and
great
work
plan.
and create jobs
Awesome
and create a
plan.
lot
It'll
of
make you wanna
good,
go work.
solid money
Only
for
my
our,
brain could have thought
for
of
our
this
country.
plan.
And just to finish off,
What? No, I have nothing to do with
she
Project
doesn't
Citizen
have
now.
a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences.
You didn't read it.
Like run, spot, run. 4 sentences.
That's
that
3
are just,
words,
oh,
dumbass.
we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up.
I love
The
drilling.
Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded.
I'm going
and
to
let's
drill down,
on
baby,
this
drill
because
down.
I'm drilling
Your
on this
plan is
podium
what
right
she
now.
calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country.
God.
As you know,
shit.
many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer.
Welcome to
Vice
protectionism.
President Harris has argued
Yep.
it'll mean
like
higher
super
prices on
Brexit.
gas, food, clothing, medication,
How'd that
arguing it
work out?
costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher
Charlie
prices.
Kirk
What's going to
said
have
it's
and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the
That's not
countries
how
that
it
have been
works,
ripping
though.
us
That's not
off for
how- yeah.
years. I charge. I was the
Dumbass.
only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And you know, if she doesn't like them,
no,
they should
your
have gone
own
out and
people
they
were
should have
paying it
immediately cut the
'cause they
tariffs. But
increased
those
their
tariffs are
fucking
there
prices.
3.5 years now under their
The reason
administration.
why all that
We are
happened
gonna take
was
in
because of Reagan and
billions of
Margaret
dollars.
Thatcher's policy to begin with the with the fucking neoliberalism. Simple. When you don't restrict trade, you're going to have places that have lower manufacturing costs have that that manufacturing outsourced to that area to come back in. That's how it works. So tell us Reagan sucked. Just do that.
If you
I enjoy the current freeze frame. It looks like Trump is yelling and Kamala is like, "What the fuck, bro?"
That is a good freeze frame.
Window, Alt, print screen.
dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation.
No inflation.
Obama
They
had
had
no
the highest
inflation. You
inflation
did.
perhaps in the history of our country because I've never
Obama
seen a
had
worse period of time.
0.1%.
People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely
Fact-check me on
dying
that,
with
Tim.
what they've done.
That's what I'm
They've
doing right now.
destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy
So
was
Obama's
terrible.
average
Vice
inflation was
President Harris, I do wanna ask for your
1.5%. Trump's
response.
was
You heard what
2%.
the president said there because
What
the
was his
Biden
lowest?
administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history
That's
of
true.
America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military. Basically sold us out.
Oops.
When a policy about China should
Well
be
done.
in making
Finally.
sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do
She
to
is
support
splashing him
America's
right now.
workforce
Yep.
so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point.
So
when we know that Xi was responsible for
I
lacking
think she's
and
found
not
her
giving
groove,
us
because if you
transparency
notice
about
the first 2
origins
minutes of this,
President
she seemed very awkward.
She was a bit tight at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
Taiwan, we hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have.
Except
and
until the
policies
CHIPS
like
Act, when we
they have.
invested
I don't say her
$52
because
billion
she has no
in
policy.
government welfare
Everything that she
fucking
believed
corporate
3
welfare
years ago
for
and
Intel.
4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was
Talk
going to
about
send
the
her a
CHIPS
MAGA
Act,
hat.
Kamala.
She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our
just
country.
took credit for the CHIPS
She's a
Act.
Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist.
She did it.
Her
She's a
father's
Marxist.
professor in
Kamala
economics.
Harris.
And
Marxist.
he taught her well.
What is a
But when
what
you
is a
look at what
Marxist?
she's
Trump?
done to
Oh,
our country,
I can't wait for her
Look at the
reply.
look on her face.
He called
I know
her-
she's.
He's having a senior moment. She's not a fucking professor, dude. She doesn't teach at a college.
Okay,
Nope.
but this is the part. This is the part where Hillary fucked up in her debates. Is she just laughed at how stupid he was and didn't fight back at him with facts. She needs to do that right now.
and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million
he's
people, not the
gone to
15 that
immigration
people
already.
say, and I think it's a lot higher than
I
the
believe it's
21.
41
That's
million.
bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration
But we're
is
gonna
the
talk
worst
about it
thing that can
now.
happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy
as?
that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump.
Such as, give me an
I
example.
want to turn to the issue of abortion.
Tim, who
President
used to
Trump,
be
you've
the
often
brain on
touted that you
Arthur?
were able to kill Roe v. Wade last
What?
year. You said
Stephen
that
Crowder.
you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because
He's
you
gonna get
initially had
himself in
said
trouble
that
here.
it was too short. And you said, quote,
No, he
I'm
can't
going
get
to be
himself.
voting
He's
that we
beyond
need
that.
more than 6 weeks.
No, if
But
he says
then the
anything
very
other than
next
a total
day,
ban
you
of abortion,
reversed
he's gonna get
course
himself
and
in
said you would
trouble.
vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of
I'm
abortion
okay with the-
because
I'm okay
you've
with
changed
the
your position so
52
many
week ban.
times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because
43-week
the plan
ban.
is, as you know, the vote is, they have
I'll go as low
52
as
might be a
in the
bit
next
extreme.
month.
I'll go as low
They
as
even
43
have, and you can
does.
look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an
Ralph
excellent
Northam
job.
he's talking
But
about.
the governor before, he said the baby will be born, and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute
wasn't
the baby.
talking about
and that's why I
your
did that,
regular
because
pregnancy.
that
Northam
predominates.
was talking
because they're
about
radical. The
fucking
Democrats are
children who
radical
were
in that.
non-viable
and her
who were at
vice
birth.
presidential pick, which I think was a
Jesus
horrible
Christ.
pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is
Why does he get to
absolutely
talk
fine.
twice
He
in a row?
also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is
Oh,
born.
here we go.
Is
Jesus
okay,
Christ.
and
Jesus
that's not
fucking
okay
Christ,
with me.
dude.
Hence the vote. But what I did
All
is
this is gonna
something
stick with
for
them, too.
52 years they've been trying to
Ben
get
Shapiro
Roe
will be
v.
talking
Wade
about how he's exactly
into
right.
the states.
Yeah, I know.
And through the
Kamala,
genius and,
Buy her
and
back.
heart and strength
His
of
facts
6
don't care about
Supreme Court
your
justices,
facts.
Shut up, Dutch, I
we
can't
were
hear.
able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for
didn't hear
rape,
this.
incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do.
He didn't know how to do
Exceptions. Very
protectionism.
important. But we were able to get it, and now
knew how to do
states
that.
are voting on it. And for the
states'
first
rights.
time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every
Longer than
legal
that.
scholar,
52,
every
yeah.
Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be
No,
brought
they
back
didn't- no
to
one
the states
cared
where
about
the people
abortion
could vote.
until Newt
And that's
Gingrich in
what
1994.
happened. Now, Ohio,
when he
the vote was somewhat liberal.
got in bed with the
vote
Catholics.
was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each
Kansas is not a liberal state.
is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal
they did
government.
vote,
I did a great service in doing it. It took
quote,
courage
unquote,
to do
left
it.
on
And the
that.
Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended.
Bye-bye Alito,
and now
bye-bye
in
Thomas.
over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body. I love violating bodies. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country.
Which
you want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that.
She should have had personal responsibility.
A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term? They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban.
Women will
Understand,
decide
in
this
his
election.
Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages.
I don't know Project 2025. I've never met her or Eugene Carroll.
Particularly the freedom to make decisions about one's own body should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice
Grab them
President
by the
Harris.
2025.
Goes again. It's a
If
lie.
you look at Project
I'm not signing a
2025,
ban,
she's not
and
very
there's no reason to
attractive.
sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats,
No.
Republicans,
Who? Who's
and
everybody?
everybody else. And every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the
Old
states.
white
And the
men
states are voting.
that
And
are
it may take a
religious.
little time, but for
That's what they
52
got.
years, this issue has torn our country apart.
No,
and they've wanted
you
it back in the
have tried
states.
to
And I
tear it
did
apart.
something that nobody thought was possible.
Ever since
States
I
are
was
now
in Home
voting.
Alone
Choked on
2.
your own
What she
dick.
says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no.
The idea
I'm
that
not in
Trump's
favor of
never
abortion
paid for
ban,
an
but
abortion,
it doesn't
I'm sorry,
matter
I find
because
laughable.
this issue has now
not
been
on
taken
any
over by the
timeline.
states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well,
came
I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again,
Answer the
two
question,
things.
bitch.
Number one, she said she'll go back
Well,
to
she
Congress.
didn't
She'll
either.
never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote.
To be fair.
Especially now with the 50-50.
About the economy.
Essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me
That's
of? When
actually
they said they're
true.
going to get
It's good.
student
He's
loans
talking some truth
terminated,
there.
and it ended up
That's a
being a total
really
catastrophe.
strong point.
The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out
What?
and said, we'll do it
you're in
again. We'll do it a
fucking
different
Florida,
way. He
golf
went out
Golf
and got
course,
rejected
dude?
again
Yeah.
by the Supreme Court. So all these students got
I made a hole in
taunted
Eagle.
with this whole thing
Fucking
about
manatee.
this whole
Shut
idea.
up.
And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they
he's
were
so
saying
what?
it's the same way that they talked about that
So
they talk
what?
about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or
What?
no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with JD. In all fairness, JD.
I don't talk to
I don't
JD.
mind if he has
It's
a
weird for
certain
me.
view, but I think he was speaking for me. But I really didn't. Look, we don't
That
have
just goes to prove he
discuss
doesn't
it
like J.D.
because
Vance.
She'd
At
never
all.
be able to get it, just like she couldn't
Him
get
and his
student
hand
loans. They couldn't get
motions
student
are-
loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this
does
approved.
this all day.
So it doesn't matter what she says
White
about
power.
going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress,
right?
out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time
Great,
to respond.
bring it up for a
but I do
vote.
want to ask,
I'm in
would
for a
you
ballot
support
initiative.
any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion ban.
He doesn't see that that's rude.
Couples who pray and
care.
dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country?
Because
working
they're
people,
saying
working
that the
women
fetuses can't be
who
destroyed.
are working
That's
one
why.
or two jobs, who
Just
can
FYI.
barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it.
This
and
is the
what
same
you are
reason why they're
putting her
against stem
through
cell
is
idiocy.
unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe
I like
in a
that she's
woman's
talking
right to make
to
decisions
him.
about her own body.
Right at him.
And that is why
And
in
he's
every
like
state where this
trying
issue
to be
has been on
stoic.
the ballot in
He's
red
just
and
looking
blue
like
states both,
staring at a
the
spot
people
on
of
the
America
desk.
have voted
Yeah.
for
Yep.
freedom.
Probably staring at the
Vice President
announcer.
Harris.
Excuse me, I have to respond.
Somebody's cup.
Another lie. It's another
Someone's
lie.
keys are dangling.
I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization.
What?
The IVF, I have
What?
been a leader.
Fuck
In fact,
you.
when they got a
You
very
forgot.
negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts,
That's not his team.
Right.
He
I saw
forgot.
the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF.
So
and the other thing,
this is the part that he's missing: is
You should
actions
ask.
have consequences.
will she allow
When
abortion
you
in the 8th month,
when
9th
you
month,
determine
7th
that a
month?
fetus is
Okay, would you do that?
individual with rights, you then give rights to you're giving rights de facto to the embryos. So if a woman wants to, if they go do IVF and they have to do 12 or 13 rounds, you create 12 or 13 embryos. It then becomes illegal and prosecutorial to destroy those once you've actually gotten pregnant. So what you have to do is you have to leave them cryo-frozen forever to avoid murder charges at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. That's insane. So you might be personally against it, but your actions have fucking consequences.
No one takes him for what he's actually fucking saying. Just make fun of him and drink.
In the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month.
Come on.
He's
Okay,
dumb.
would you do that? Why don't you? 9th month, you should ask. Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that?
I like how her mic
Why
is
don't
on.
you ask her
Why-
that
why
question?
don't you
That's
answer
the
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question.
Get
you
in
could,
there.
you could do
Yeah.
abortions in the 7th
it up.
month, the 8th
She can
month,
answer this
the
question
9th
very
month,
easily.
and probably
The same way
after
I did.
birth. Just look at the former governor
your
of
answer's boring.
Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put
Debates
the
are
baby
boring.
aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to
I don't like the
Republicans,
way they're
Democrats,
segueing
voters
these
across
off.
the board in this
Kinda.
country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by
They're skipping
President
through
Biden
the
with getting to the root
response.
causes
All
right,
of migration
total
from
next
Central
topic.
America. We know that
Circuses.
illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the
People
numbers
came
since then
here
have
because
dropped
our inflation rates
significantly.
were lower.
But
Say
my
it.
question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns,
She's
drugs,
parroted
and
this
human
before, but
beings.
this is a good time to do
And
it.
let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported.
This is
And
true.
that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to
When she
stem the
says
flow
he
of
killed it,
fentanyl
when
coming
she
into
says
the
he
United
killed it right
States.
now, watch
I
his
know there are
face.
so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
Piss him off. She's gonna piss him off.
He's nodding.
He's nodding again. Yeah, he did.
You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires.
He's getting pissed.
And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve
he's
a
getting pissed. Look
president
at
who
him.
actually puts you first. And I pledge
What's
to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't
we'll
go
talk
to
about
her
the bill,
rallies.
but my
There's no
rallies
reason
are more
to go.
important.
And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she didn't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
Okay, what the fuck?
This is either going to be very good for her or very bad for her. This pose she keeps doing. I don't know.
He's doing exactly what everyone predicted he would do. He's taking the bait. He has swallowed the hook. He has to defend himself.
So
he's too sensitive.
this is something earlier that apparently she had a conversation with Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton was like, listen, don't take his bait, but bait him into shit that you know he's going to rant about.
Like, the crowd size had nothing to do with what they were talking about, but she threw it in there, and now he's stuck on it, and he can't because he has to say something. He has to. Oh,
he had that line preloaded though about her bussing in people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did.
Fucking AI.
He would have. He pulled it in earlier
Somebody
though.
suggested it to him. Somebody suggested that to him a while back, and he just decided to throw it right there.
No, that's a real
Because
zinger.
people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation, and it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject.
We do not care.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to
You
come
haven't
into
talked
our
about
country,
the border bill
and
yet.
look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's
I live
not
in
going to be
Houston.
Aurora
We're
or
fine.
Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so
I live in
embarrassed by
Connecticut.
it.
We're fine.
In Springfield,
I'm literally
they're
right by
eating
the border.
The people
so.
that came in, they're
I live
eating
in
the
Canada. We're
cats.
fine.
They're eating.
I'm next to a sanctuary
the
city.
pets
We're fine.
Of the people
You're right
live
by the
there.
U.S. border though.
And
You're
this
kidding.
is what's
He
happening.
He said it.
Into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating.
Oh, is this the thing that JD Vance said?
The pets of the people that live
They're eating
there.
the cat.
And
They're
this
eating
is
the
what's
cat lady.
happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as
Democrats would be very against that, since we're all childless cat ladies, and someone's eating the cats. Oh no!
I love that they're putting a question up right now while he's going off about people eating cats and dogs.
rallies are concerned,
They should
as
change
far
the
as
question
the
to,
reason they go
have you
is they
eaten a
like
cat?
what I say.
How
They
many
wanna
ducks
bring
is too
our
many?
country back. They want to make America
can't
great
wait for
again.
the
It's a very
Simpsons to
simple
talk about
phrase.
this.
Make
In
America
Springfield,
great
we're
again.
eating cats' butts.
She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success.
Simpsons cat
Not only
name?
success, will end up being
Snowball.
Venezuela
Snowball.
on
She
steroids.
looks like she feels sorry
I
for
just want
him.
to clarify
Yeah.
here. You bring up Springfield,
having a
Ohio,
moment.
and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals.
I like that ABC is
in
on
the
top of their
immigrant
shit.
community.
Well,
All
I've
this-
seen people on television.
not
Let me just
pets,
say here,
it's
this is
stray
the-
People on
cats.
television
This is a
say my dog was taken, and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe
How would
that's
they
a
know it
good
was
thing to
used
say
for
for a city
food?
manager.
Yeah, how do they know?
But the people on television saying,
I had the tracker put on my dog. He went straight to the restaurant.
I went the chip on my dog. I was standing behind a guy in Target, and the chip was in his butt. He was clenching it.
He clearly had eaten the dog previously.
He clearly ate the tracker.
the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager
The
says
Chinese
there's no
food
evidence of that.
places
Vice President
in
Harris, I'll let you respond.
Springfield are having
Shut up. Shut up.
You talk about extreme.
He loves being laughed at.
This is,
Look,
I
he
think, one of the
he
reasons
actually is
why
he's
in this
kinda giggling.
election, I actually
He knew that was cap. Like,
Yeah, he kind of did. I think he did.
of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John
Oh,
McCain,
please don't talk. Don't
including
go
the
right wing on me
endorsement
now.
of
Please,
former Vice
fucking
President
God,
Dick
go left.
Cheney and Congress member Liz
Dick
Cheney.
fucking Cheney, the biggest
And
war
if
criminal.
you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief
Why are
of
you
staff,
bringing
a
up
four-star
Dick
general,
Cheney's endorsement?
has said he has
Oh
contempt
my
for the
because she's
Constitution
appealing
of the
to
United
moderates,
States.
which is what she needs to win
His
the election.
former national security
Moderates
advisor
don't
has
like
said
Dick
he is
Cheney.
dangerous and unfit.
Real
His
moderates
former
do.
Secretary
they
of
fucking
Defense
don't.
has said the nation, the Republic, would never
They
survive
blame him for putting us in
another
Iraq, and
Trump
everyone's against that.
term.
Not
And
everybody
when
was
we
against us
listen
going to Iraq.
to
A
this
lot of people
kind
were
of
brainwashed.
rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
I touched
President
that
Trump, I'll give you a
dress
quick minute to respond
Yeah.
here.
inappropriately.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person.
No,
I
you're
fired most
No.
of those people.
He
Not
is.
so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently
All right, this
killed.
is
And I got
actually
to know
really
the
smart for
parents
him
and
to
the
mess it
family.
up.
They didn't fire. They should have
'Cause that
fired
was a
all those
disaster.
generals, all those top people,
What was
because
his
that was one
plan?
of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad
Afghanistan
job,
was Trump's
I
fault.
fire him.
Yeah,
And
well,
I
it was
take
his
a guy
plan.
like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So
You
he
did it,
writes
you
a
gotta
book.
take
Another one writes a
some
book. Because with
responsibility
me,
for
they
it,
can
though,
write books.
Biden,
With nobody
so.
else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation.
That part's irrelevant.
They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish,
Not to
I got
have
more
books
votes
written about
than
you?
Part
any.
of the deal.
He's so worried about negative press from people that he's fired that he actually think that that's what the other side does because he's internalized this weirdo complex.
That's exactly correct.
So he's like, well, they didn't even fire the people who did a bad job.
I think I
It
have
wasn't
like
a
3 of
bad
those
job.
books.
It's
I
more
fired
complicated than you.
Scaramucci after
Yeah.
10 days.
What is that? Who's the guy who ate all the big red gum?
What?
Spicer.
I don't know.
Spicer.
Oh, yeah.
the
Oh,
gum,
Sean
the,
Spicer.
the gum guy. You know what I mean? Like, this is his whole thing. Like, he just fires people because that makes his life easier, and he assumes that fixes problems.
I don't think he fired Spicer, though. I think Spicer when it got a job at Fox, to be fair.
I think he got fired.
I think-
Because Spicer did the first term, and then Huckabee Sanders did the second term.
Well, don't forget about the mooch.
Yeah.
That's what I
There
said.
after.
Scaramucci
Yeah.
was there for he was a whole 10
9
days. I
days?
fired the mooch.
Yeah, 10 days.
The
He
the
kept
fucking
trying to buy
mooch.
Bitcoin.
Any Republican in history by far. In fact,
And Isis says in chat, turn the page on the same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the country. Word. And also, he's telling on himself. Let him talk.
I got more votes than any
That's the
president,
strategy.
sitting president in history by
Not true.
far.
Not
No,
true.
it is.
Let
No,
me continue
yes,
on.
that's true.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he got
he
more
said
votes. Yes,
he said
that's
sitting
true.
president.
Yeah,
That
he
is
said-
true.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
He got more than Biden did.
Biden
No,
wasn't
no.
president at the time.
Yeah. And he's
Biden
sitting
was-
president. The sitting part's the key word there.
Right. He's right.
On immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation
Oh, you're saying on the
proposal
re-election
that the vice
he got
president has
more.
reacted
Yeah.
to as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Okay.
President Trump,
I was
you
like,
called this the largest
motherfucker,
domestic
he would've
deportation
won then,
operation in the
dumbass.
history of our
Oh,
country. You
but
say you would
also,
use the National Guard.
voting
You say
was
if
like
things got out of
double that
control,
year.
you'd have
Right.
Yeah.
That was one of your biggest
all-time
turnout.
highs. All-time
If you
highs.
only knew how
Biden got
ridiculous
the
that
most
statement
votes
is,
by any whenever.
That's all. There are plenty of things that are bad and wrong, but it doesn't make them fascist.
Of using the U.S.
With local
military.
police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher.
With fascism.
Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Call them in.
It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country.
They pushed forward your
and they're now
policy,
in the United
including
States
Title 42.
And told
until
their
like it
countries
just
like
disappeared
Venezuela.
on its own, right?
No, they extended it after that too.
Yeah,
and
like
for not indefinitely, but they did extend it. And also when Trump did it, he didn't have when Trump did Title, was it 42, 22? He did not have people from Venezuela and I think Guatemala and one other country in there. Biden actually added
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua.
Don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes. But it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all.
Blood.
They destroyed the fabric of our country.
The soil is being
Millions
tarnished.
of people
The
live
white
in,
soil.
and all over the world. Crime is down all
It's
over the world
turning
except here.
slightly
Crime here is
Hispanic.
up and through the roof.
Crime is
despite
down here.
their fraudulent statements
crime's
that they
down.
made.
Crime is
in
down.
this country is
Violent
through
crime
the
is
roof.
way down.
And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says
I made up
overall
a
violent
thing.
crime is
It's
actually
off
coming
the
down in
charts.
this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements.
your ass up.
They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like
they
their
included
number
all
of
the cities.
808
No, that's not true.
Yo,
they
he-
didn't count them twice, which is what he wants them to do.
He added 91 charges to the total crimes from last year himself. So, motherfucker, it's you. You the problem.
18,000
The crimes are coming from inside the house.
jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from
Laugh at
someone
him.
who has been prosecuted
Yeah.
national security
He's like, "You
crimes,
motherfucker."
economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
Get him.
And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page
She's doing
on
much
this
better than I had
same
feared.
old tired rhetoric
Oh,
and
yeah.
address
She's getting
the
I was
needs of
really,
the
really
American
worried.
people, address what we need to
she's
do
got the cross
about
exam.
the housing shortage, which I have a plan for,
She's
address what we
getting
must
better
do to support our small businesses,
every single time she
address
gets
bringing down the price of
Unlike me.
groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those
I
cases
want more mic time.
was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm
Oh,
winning
yeah,
most
where your
of them.
Supreme
But
Court
those
gave
are
you
cases,
immunity
it's
for
called
everything you've done as
weaponization.
president.
Never happened in this country. They
They cry
weaponized
about
the
it's
Justice
unprecedented
Department.
that
Every one of those cases.
anyone gets charged with this stuff, but it's also unprecedented that every single one of your court cases ends up in front of judges that you appointed on the Supreme fucking Court of the United States. That's you want to talk about unprecedented? That's fucking unprecedented.
Oh yeah, that Florida judge is
The
wild.
Florida judge is a Looney Tune, but I mean, what can you do? Like that's the
was involved
Every
with
judge
the
you put in
DOJ
place should be forced to recuse himself.
from Atlanta and
A good judge would.
Bonnie Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York, every one of those cases, and then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found.
They're not the ones that made you commit the
essentially guilty on
crimes.
the documents case. And what happened in my documents case?
Yep.
They said, "Oh, that's the toughest of them all."
The argument from
A
them is not
complete
that
and
he
total
didn't do the
victory.
crimes;
2
it's that
months
he should
ago,
have
it was
just, they should have
thrown
just
out.
forgot about it.
It's
Yeah.
weaponization, and they used it,
They've
and it's
never
never
said
happened
I'm
in this
innocent.
country. They used
It's always
it
been, who
to try
cares?
and win an
Yeah.
election.
He
They're
never.
fake
That's
cases.
a great
President Trump,
point.
thank
He
you.
never
A
said I
really
didn't
quick
do it.
response
He
here,
said
Vice President Harris,
I'll
on
get off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This notion of weaponization of the Justice
He's
Department.
saying I shouldn't
Well,
be blamed.
let's talk
Yeah.
about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his
I don't think that's
political enemies.
No, this is good.
Someone who has openly
think that's what he said, though.
expressed
It
disdain
is what he said.
It is.
for members
Yeah.
of
He
our
didn't say he's going
military.
to terminate the
Understand,
Constitution.
Yes, the fuck
He
he
said-
did.
He did.
When did he say
They
that?
When
said
he
he was going
says-
to be a dictator.
Yeah, that's terminating the fucking
He was-
Constitution.
Are you talking about the for a day?
On the
thing?
first day, I'm going to be a dictator for
That's
2 days.
terminating, that's terminating the
That's- yeah.
Constitution. You can't
Hold
just
on.
turn it back on when you're done with it.
Yeah.
It's not a light
It's going to be
switch.
void for this
Yeah.
period of time.
Yeah.
And then
I-
it'll
I
I'll bring it
understand.
back.
I
but-
understand where you're going, but I think that
So-
that's the type of lip service that gets us in trouble with moderates.
I don't deal with fucking ignorant ass,
So-
dumbass Republicans. If they're stupid, that's their fucking job.
I
don't
said
have
not.
to. I don't. If,
I have
if,
the
if-
quote.
if-
He did say it. He said it on Truth Social.
I'm just
Okay.
saying. I'm just saying. I don't have to go by their rules. They're the
I don't
ones
have
that
my Truth Social account.
they're the ones that are dumbasses, not us.
what it
He
would
said
mean
that,
if Donald Trump were back
he
in
would-
the White House
Read it real
with
quick.
no
He said, "Do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? Massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows
Look
for
at your
the-
mic.
Oh, sorry. Massive fraud. Where was I? Oh, a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution."
Thank you.
He's saying that because of the
This was
2020
back in 2020.
Yeah, he
Oh,
said that
okay.
in 2020.
I thought you were talking about the quote from.
Well, I was
Like 2 months
I didn't know
ago.
about that quote.
Okay, yeah, neither did I.
Thank you. Some of us keep up with this. You guys should check out Unbox Politics on Wednesday nights.
Check out Truth Social.
guardrails because
We talked about True Social because Tim made a fake account called Peacemaker 420
Yeah.
Blazing.
I did too, but I got banned.
We
I
tried to
didn't-
get banned.
I
They were-
tried to get banned. I couldn't.
He got popular.
certainly we know
Yeah.
now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going
Tim's
to
an
stop him.
influencer.
It's up to
On
the
Truth
American
Social,
people.
yeah.
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lynn,
It's pronounced Timfluencer.
Tim
Vice
Fluence.
President
Influencer.
Harris,
Yeah.
in your last
On the Tim
run
cast.
for
I
president,
related to Tim Pool.
This is the one that weaponized,
I
not me.
made a fake
she
one, too, but it
weaponized.
didn't catch
I
on.
probably took a bullet to the head
There it is.
because of the things that they say about me.
Drink.
They talk about
Bullet to the head.
democracy. I'm a threat to
Wow.
democracy. They're the
Technically,
threat
the ear
to
is the head, I
democracy
guess.
with a fake Russia
So he
investigation.
got hit
He didn't
by
get-
fucking shrapnel.
He didn't get hit with no goddamn
best.
bullet. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Dutch, you have guns. He didn't get hit with no goddamn bullet.
He got hit with shrapnel at
What
best.
bullet can you get
Eh, eh,
shot
eh.
with in the ear and you still have an ear?
We can't prove that statement.
You can't prove that he got shot with a bullet.
I-
Thank you.
They
We
should
do a
go
lot
Less
that
than a
That's
way.
week
not-
later,
we
he's
have a lot
going
to
to show
go
up
to,
with his
Lindsay.
ear
Vice
completely
President
healed.
Harris,
What the
in your
fuck
last
hit
run
him?
for president, you
Nothing.
said you wanted to ban
Put
fracking.
his ear on the
Now
floor.
you don't.
Yeah.
You wanted mandatory government
A
buyback
pebble
programs
got
for
fucking
assault
hit by a
weapons.
bullet
Now
that
your
ricocheted and
campaign
hit him.
says you don't.
He
You supported
bladed. It was a work.
decriminalizing
He
border
bladed.
crossings. Now you're taking a harder
He had his
line. I
ketchup
know you
packet.
say that your values have not changed.
loves
So
ketchup
then why
on
have
his
so many
steak.
of your policy positions changed?
He Nick Foley's
So
that fucking thing.
my values
Those
have not
ketchup in
changed,
his
and I'm
taco
going to
bowls.
discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very
Okay.
clear in 2020.
Do this right.
I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking.
That's
My
true.
position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest
You don't like Canadian
increase
oil? Fuck
in
you.
domestic oil production in history.
Hey, Ali, we
because
don't
of
want
an
your oil.
approach
Get
that
your oil outta
recognizes
here.
that
It's
we
dirty.
cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing
Stick
not
the landing.
everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed
There
bankruptcy
you go.
6 times,
There you go.
is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based
Because
on
she
a
wants to
value
win the election
that is
is the
deeply
answer.
grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done.
This is not the right
protecting
answer for
seniors from
fracking.
scams. My values have not changed.
You got to keep reminding the
and what is
women that they're
important is that there
important
is
to
a
this
president who actually
decision.
brings values and
Why
a
have they changed the
perspective
question
that is
on the
about
whole
lifting
screen?
people up and not beating people down and name calling. The
Did
true
we skip
measure
ahead
of
and
the
miss a question? What
leader
happened?
is the leader who actually.
The original question was like, because she had changed her position on a couple of things, why
Oh,
should people
okay.
believe you? So that's why she went to fracking, and that's why she's talking about this.
Yeah, yeah.
She
Okay.
went to the because she's moved to the right on 2 or 3 different issues to win Pennsylvania.
Exactly. This is to win Pennsylvania so that she can win the election. It happens, y'all. Get used to it.
You could have picked the governor of Pennsylvania and settled all of this before, though. But
Waltz is better.
he is,
The
but
strength
he's not
is
going to
in
win you
beating people down,
Pennsylvania.
it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well,
response?
first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a
Brooklyn
lot
builder.
from him. But I was given a
Brooklyn
fraction
builder.
of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into
Yeah,
many,
like
many
4
millions
million.
of
What
dollars.
percentage?
I think
Many,
it was.
many
I think it was
billions.
20.
And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police. She's been against that forever.
She's a
She gave
prosecutor.
all that
He just said
stuff
she
up
was against defund the
very
police.
wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12
That's not what he
and
meant to
probably
say, but that's
14
what
or
he said.
15 different
Yeah, I
policies.
think he did.
She
Hey,
was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she
Victoria.
went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please.
Oh, there we
Does that
go.
sound familiar?
What?
He don't
She's
know how to
used
be
his
She
line.
went out
Y'all were
went out
talking over it. Go back.
in Minnesota. At least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now.
She was big
don't
on
mind,
defund the
please.
police.
Does that
She
sound
said that's
familiar?
not true.
She went out.
Don't lie.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
What?
This is a
What?
radical left
What?
liberal.
He did it.
The trifecta right there.
What the fuck?
Everybody
He
pour a
just
drink.
fucking
Everybody
fucked
pour a drink.
himself over.
Oh my god, that is the
We're not-
funniest thing I've
Kamala
ever
is
heard.
not. She's not only bringing in illegals to steal your jobs, also to turn them into trans people.
And then, you know, the worst of the worst. Like, what is he saying?
That's
Oh
it, guys.
my god, that's the
The
debate, y'all. He
illegal
won.
trans people are going to ban fracking.
Politics is over, guys. Politics is over.
America is canceled. We are closed
That
for the
bullshit
foreseeable
hard-on.
future. We will be back to you guys at the beginning of next season. This is
Oh
the
my
season.
God.
This is the season finale of America.
How
What the
people
fuck
vote
did
for
he even
this
say?
moron.
That was possibly the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, it's up there. Like, think about it.
that. Replay that stupidity. He said they're bringing in immigrants to do trans surgeries on them.
In prison.
in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think
Nobody
of.
in Minnesota
now
killed
she
anyone.
wants to do
During
transgender
BLM.
operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to
Fuck. That's the
Wow.
same as when he said fucking kids are coming home from school have trans surgery.
They
What the
wouldn't-
fuck?
The kids weren't
It's like-
coming home for 3 days, and they would be a different
Yeah.
gender when they got off the school bus.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Wow.
What the fuck?
Hey, Joey, how was your? Oh, I'm sorry, Janie. How was your day?
Oh, Lord. have
confiscate your
mercy.
guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won
She just said she would.
the election,
just said
fracking
she would,
in
yeah.
Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So
On day one.
I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done
No, you
before.
didn't. Obama did with
When
fracking.
they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up.
No, they didn't.
the
They
roof.
increased it.
They immediately let these guys
Alma says in the chat, I want to go to America to take their jobs, take all the food
The
stamps,
price-
and do surgeries on Donald Trump.
go to where they were.
The price increases
I
of
would have
oil
been
are
five
global.
times, 4 times, 5 times higher because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline.
Wait,
so
pause
they
it
said,
for a
let's
second.
go back to Trump.
Actually, there was a time during the Biden administration where the price of oil was negative $36. So I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about.
He doesn't know anything.
That's right.
But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills,
I mean,
and
they
we'll go
are
back to
dead.
solar, where they need a
We'll
whole
go back to
desert to get
windmills
some
like we
energy
used to
to
be
come
on
out. You ever see a solar
back in
plant?
the
By the way,
60s.
I'm a big fan of solar, but they take
Yeah.
400,
President
500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get-
environment.
Hey, I would
So
like to.
what?
I would like to grow crops in that desert, but there's
Yeah,
a
right?
fucking
They-
solar farm here.
Can I would love to hear her ask him right now. Can you please expand on that for me? What else are we
No,
going
they're
to
trying
do
to
with
cut
that
him off.
desert soil?
Alma says here in the chat, thank you, Alma. And Alma's in Mexico, by the way. He doesn't know the difference between gas prices and oil prices.
That's probably true.
Exactly. He
He's-
thinks they're the same thing. Gas
so-
and oil are the same thing to him.
Do you
He's
know?
so divorced from reality when it comes to the prices of things.
Do you guys know? Do you guys know what state has? I'm going to ask this question in
Quickly.
a particular way. Do you guys know what state has the second most windmills?
California.
Maine.
Montana.
It's almost a tie between Illinois and California. They both have about 1,800. First place, Texas, 12,000.
Yeah, yeah.
12,000.
That's because they brag all the time.
That's it. We're out of time. Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis.
Will he fuck it up?
Yes.
Mr. President.
Dutch, yes or no? Ali, yes or no? Will he fuck this up?
I missed the question. I'm sorry.
They're
What's
asking
the
about the
question?
peaceful transition of power. Will he fuck this up?
Yeah. Yes.
He won't answer it. He'll
On
say
January
if.
6th.
A non-answer
fuck up.
and 2 fuck ups. I'm gonna go with a
won't
non-answer.
answer.
I'll do a non-answer to make the rest of the.
We'll have to see.
In my
You told your
opinion, the
supporters to march to
non-answer
the
is a
Capitol.
fuck
You
up.
said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played
Not
out
politically.
in the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer.
Nobody on it.
That should have never,
On
ever
the
shot
other
her.
side.
It's a disgrace. But
Yeah, he's
didn't do
flubbing this up.
group of people that have been treated so badly. I
Yeah,
ask,
people don't want to
what
hear about this
all the
anymore.
people that
They're
are pouring into our
tired of it,
country and killing people that
unfortunately.
she allowed to pour it in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She
It's become
was
a
the border
negative
czar. She doesn't want to be
for
called
us.
the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, "Well, I'm surprised you're
He's
not
going
talking
back to the
about
border.
yet." That's because she
like
knows
Taco
what a
Bell.
bad
He's
job
making
they've
runs
done.
for the border every
What
5
about
minutes.
those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America?
They are being prosecuted
They're
at
coming
record
in from
numbers.
all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David? When are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that
When
burned
you get
down
prosecuted,
Minneapolis going to
Hope.
be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
You
you.
might
didn't
ask
take
her that
over a big
question.
You were the
percentage of the
president.
city of
You were
Seattle.
watching
That's
it
not
unfold
true.
on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
Right.
Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to
repeat
make
the
a
question?
speech. I showed up for a speech. I said,
Oh,
think
they
it-
forced him to make a speech.
I know
Oh, yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. They showed-
There weren't
gonna be big.
weeks and
I
weeks
went to Nancy-
of fucking Twitter posts from Trump saying January 6th, come down to DC, it will be wild.
Tim, you
Fight back.
fucking liar. It was on Truth Social.
Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C.
No, he wasn't banned from Twitter
I
yet.
think he was banned already. I'm pretty sure most of that shit was
No,
over.
he got banned after January 6th.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. It's been so long.
D.C. And the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by
Insurrection.
me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi.
Pretty soon we're going to be calm in this
Question is-
country.
Just 2 weeks ago, her daughter has
Okay.
a
Does
tape
he
of her
remember what the
saying
question is?
she is fully responsible for what happened.
Yeah.
They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy
Speaking of getting rid of tapes, you think Russia still got that PP tape?
I hope so.
I hope so.
I want them to ask him this question a third time now. Seriously.
Pelosi and the mayor of Washington
won't.
did their jobs.
He's not
I
gonna
wasn't
answer.
responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
Thanks for following the rules, Tim. I love you.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was
Why didn't you guys meet on January 6th?
also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob
Yep.
to attack
Nope,
our
not
nation's
violent.
capital,
Peaceful.
to desecrate our nation's capital. On
I think it's pronounced defecate.
that day, 140 law enforcement
Because they
officers
smeared
were
the shit
injured,
on the walls, remember?
and some died.
She's okay. She's had a couple
And
of drinks.
understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for
Victoria in the chat says he brought them alternative facts. Where is old Kellyanne Windbag? She probably they got her propped up in a corner, keeping a door open somewhere.
Have you seen them? Have you seen the pictures they've been posting of Kamala lately, where they're saying she was a call girl in San Francisco?
No, I
They're
didn't,
like
I didn't,
AI.
I didn't get those messages, Dutch. How'd you get them?
They're like they're on Facebook.
But this is not an isolated
Not in my
situation.
group.
In the wrong
Let's
fucking
remember-
groups, dude.
Let's
Wrong
remember-
fucking groups.
where there was a
Holy
mob
fuck.
of people carrying tiki
assholes.
torches,
But these do the
spewing
gorilla shit with Obama all the
anti-Semitic
time.
hate. And what did the
I
president
think the group is
then
I
at the
Love
time
Chicago.
say? There were fine people on each side.
That's what he said.
Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia,
Stand back,
the
stand
president
by.
said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for
didn't
everyone
say
watching
that.
who
She did that.
remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for
Ooh,
country,
I like the look.
to stand for our democracy,
Very
to
Claire
stand
Huxtable.
for rule of law, and to end the chaos,
take that.
and to end the
And he's very
approach
Bill
that is
Cosby.
about attacking the foundations of our
More than we
democracy
realize.
because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and
That's
the
what he
outcome
said.
of this election
He
is
did
not
say
to
that.
his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course
You
for
got
the
it. I would
future
have, if I were her, I would
and
have
not
quoted
go
the
backwards
date.
to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where Bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they
Jesse Waters
covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this up.
Again, he keeps saying the name wrong because he feels like technically he doesn't know what it is as long as he keeps mispronouncing it. Just know that.
I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol.
McDowell's.
Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the
Whack Arnold's Whack Arnold's, you know,
southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it.
Bring up the
I would
fact
say
that he
we would
vetoed the
both
bill
leave
again.
this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous.
What the fuck are you talking about,
Go down
bro?
to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have
She's vice president, stupid fuck.
the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that
There's
the
no bill
border
to
is
sign.
closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they
You called Congress and told them to torpedo the bill. What the fuck are you talking about?
So,
do that,
so which is it, a bill or an executive order?
yes.
Yeah,
the
I think
border
that's what
is
he's meaning.
closed.
Yeah.
Those people are
doesn't
killing
know the
many
difference.
people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won
I
in
know
a landslide.
nothing.
In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite
Cocaine's
make
a hell
it,
of a
that you
drug.
came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically. You
But
know
those-
that.
Oh,
And we said,
yeah.
oh, we lost by a whisker.
So he's still not
I said
admitting it.
sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you
said it
have to do is look at
sarcastically.
it. And
Yeah.
they should have sent it back
Spell sarcastic, motherfucker.
to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten.
did.
I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election,
you were wrong.
people should never be thinking about
Yeah.
an election is fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in,
You would
they're
know.
trying to
Setting
get
it
them
up
to
for
vote. They
fuck's
can't
sakes.
even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in
Oy
practically.
vey.
Your wife barely speaks English. Never mind.
And these people are
Give
trying
me
to
a
get
checkbook,
them to
Donald.
vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our
Are
country.
you
I
no
did
see
watch
pussy
all of these
pussy?
pieces of
I
video.
sure fucking hope that
I
your
didn't detect the
military's on
sarcasm.
alert.
Lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it.
November.
We should just point out
You're
that
right
as Claire-
next to us, buddy.
Alma in the chat
staying up.
says, "LOL, I am a Mexican. I have the impression I know more than more how the government works
Yeah.
than Trump."
Yeah, I
and you
agree.
know this.
I agree.
You and your allies, 60 cases
Alma, you're pretty and smart. He's not.
in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican,
judge looked at it.
and said there
They
was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election
Not having standing means it's not legal.
doesn't have standing? The
Rudy
president of the
Giuliani
United
said, "This
States
is not a
doesn't
court
have standing.
case."
That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it.
Oh, we're gonna do a special unbox politics. We're gonna get the tapes or the evidence from Discovery for his J6. It's coming
Mike-
out in a couple of weeks.
I
Georgia,
got it.
and I'll
Mike
show you
Lindell. I have it.
Wisconsin, and I'll
It's
show
coming
you
out tomorrow.
Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We
My new gamer tag is Mike Lindell's mustache.
have so many facts and statistics, but
R.I.P.
you know what? That doesn't
It's
matter.
machine
Because
washable.
we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you.
Because you're setting
Vice
it
President
actively
Harris,
on fire.
you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by whiskers. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your
Pretty soon we're going to be calm in this country.
top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Is it suppress or surpress?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing. We cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny
He's got to figure out who they are.
what over and over again are court
He's thinking of who it is right
Yes,
now.
that's
because
right now.
you
Yeah,
did
that's all
in
he's
fact
thinking about.
lose that election. It leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused.
Oh, look, he got surprised because that's his
about
Hillary
fact.
line.
Yeah.
That's deeply troubling, and the American people
He
deserve
doesn't have
better.
the temperament.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just tell you about world leaders. Victor Orban, one of the most
all love
respected
me.
men.
Oh
they
my
call him
God.
strong man.
Oh
He's
my
a
God.
tough
Yeah.
person.
Okay, Tim, give everybody 10 seconds on Viktor Orban and why he's not somebody who you want to be modeling yourself after.
Viktor Orban is the fascist leader of Turkey.
Yeah.
Who Trump loves so much and doesn't understand that he shouldn't emulate him.
Orban is hungry.
Oh, Orban is hungry. Yes. Sorry, that's my bad.
God damn it, Tim.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He's
Sorry.
close.
On you, you let us down, buddy.
We're spanking you tonight.
What?
We would have believed you.
Tim
That's
is
what-
hungry for
I'll give
turkey.
you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just tell you about world
Look, they're both food.
leaders. Victor Orban, one of the most respected men. They call him a strong man. He's a tough person.
He's a straw
Smart.
man.
He's
Prime
He's
Minister
going to
of
go to
Hungary.
Putin next.
They said, why is the
His
whole
daddy.
world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid
Talk
of him.
about
China
who
was
that is,
afraid, and
Kamala.
I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him.
China was not
North
afraid.
Korea was afraid of him.
China was afraid of
Look
Turkey.
at what's going on with North
Costa
Korea, by
Rica.
the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2
Hungary.
pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country,
He
he
didn't
ended that.
end the
But he
XL
let the
pipe.
Russians build a pipeline going all
That's
over
not
Europe
true.
and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world.
We
Look,
don't own Germany
Victor
or
Orban
Russia,
Yeah.
stupid fuck.
said it. He said the most
Russia made that deal with the
respected,
European
most feared
Union.
person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when
He's
this
getting all
weak,
spitty.
pathetic man that
He
you
just
saw
talked about
at a
himself in the
debate
third
just a
person.
few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give
He's
you a
still
little
in
secret.
office.
He hates her. He can't stand her. But
Mr.
he got
President.
14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm okay
President,
with
You
it.
don't
because
understand a lot
Your
of
time
things.
is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages
Here we
who are
go.
still being held, Americans among them. Vice
Yeah.
President Harris in
Like-
December
gonna
he
say
said,
something
quote,
stupid
Israel
here.
has
I just
They both
want
will.
to, and I just want to temper everybody who maybe is new. Well, we don't. I'll just say it that way. I don't stand with genocide. So if this is gonna make you feel icky pooey, I'll see you later. Bye.
But do you
has a
condemn
right to
Hamas?
defend itself. But
Fuck
you added,
that.
quote, it matters
That's gonna be a
how,"
new T-shirt
saying
from the bin.
international humanitarian
Yes,
law must
that.
be respected.
But do you
Israel
condemn
must do
Hamas?
more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead.
I don't
Nearly
trust the
100
numbers from
hostages
Hamas.
remain. Right. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said
only 38.
there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate.
Trump's going to tell us how he's best buddies with Bibi.
Let's understand how we got here. On October 7,
Abraham Accords.
Hamas, a terrorist organization,
that's how we got
slaughtered 1,200 Israelis.
This is
Many
the
of them
incorrect
young
way to
people
answer
who
this
were
question.
simply attending a
Wrong
concert.
answer, lady.
Women were horribly raped.
Not
and so,
true.
absolutely, I said then, I say now.
Check Al Jazeera's
Israel
reporting.
has a right to defend
Not
itself.
true.
We would. And how it does so matters.
That's
because
Israel's
it
reporting.
is also true. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children,
You think?
mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end
Stop
immediately.
giving
And the way it will
arms
end is
to
we
Israel.
need a ceasefire deal and we
Yeah,
need
seriously.
the hostages out. And so we will continue to work
You've
around
blown
the
up
clock
all the
on
hostages
that.
by giving them
Work
bombs.
around the
So
clock,
just
also
stop giving them
understanding
bombs.
that we must
Save the
chart a course
hostages,
for a
stop the bombs.
two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular
Oh,
as
she's
it
gonna
relates
always
to,
give
as
Israel
it relates
bombs.
to Iran
Yep.
and any threat that
Wrong
Iran
answer.
and its proxies
His answer's
Yeah,
gonna
pose
be
to
worse.
Israel. But we
I know,
must have a
but I
two-state
told you she was gonna
solution
give the wrong
where we
answer,
can
too.
rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians
Why we gotta
have
rebuild it?
security,
Why the fuck are we paying for the
self-determination, and the
rebuild?
dignity they so rightly deserve.
No, fuck that.
Well, see,
President
we
Trump,
paid to
how
blow
would
it
you
up.
negotiate with Netanyahu?
We get money either way.
And also
Yeah, we paid to blow it up. That means Israel's funding is cut to compensate for the rebuilding of Gaza. I hope you enjoyed blowing everything the fuck up because you're not getting about $1 trillion worth of aid because you need to rebuild an entire fucking city, dickheads.
Also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza.
If I were president, it would have never started.
There you go.
If I were president, Russia
God.
would have never, ever.
What?
I know
This is
Putin
not about
very well.
Russia.
He would have never, and there was no threat of.
He's just saying that foreign policy-wise, people would never do these things because he would be in office.
Because
By the
he's
way.
just his that's the thing that kills me. He and Republicans think that his very presence in office just makes good things happen. He doesn't have to do anything. He just is there, and thus harmony. He's the harbinger of happiness.
Meanwhile, we were almost at nuclear war with fucking North Korea.
For 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Net.
See, there you go, everybody. If
She
you're a
did.
pro- if
She
you're,
did.
If you're a progressive, and or anybody who has Muslim friends or is Middle East aligned, you can see that there is no left anymore. So there is no conversation for having these middle of the road talks. There's no space for it. It is, do we fund Israel or do we super fund Israel and the genocide of the Palestinian people? That is what's going on stage at the presidential debate in 2024. Who can fund Israel the best? And you wonder why motherfuckers don't vote anymore.
Netanyahu, when he went to Congress to make a very important speech, she refused to be there because she was at a sorority party.
She met with
of
him
hers.
after.
She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If
Oh my
she's
God.
president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one.
Oh my
Didn't
God.
predict that bullet.
What?
She hates Israel. At the same time,
well,
in
he's
her
gonna
own
claim he
way,
did 'cause he
she hates
dodged
the
it.
Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah
No, they
or any
didn't.
of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for
You
terror.
know about not having
they
any
were
money, don't you?
broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened.
Because of us.
I will get that settled and
We are the
fast, and I'll get the war
They've said
with
because of
Ukraine and
America.
Russia
He's
ended.
the one who moved
If
the
I'm
embassy that
president-elect, I'll get it
triggered
done
this latest
before
round.
even becoming president.
There was a
President Harris
war in
says you hate
Israel in
Israel.
2018 when he was in fucking
I
power.
have my entire career and
Never mind
life
the West Bank.
supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows
Oh my
that.
God.
He's trying to again divide and
He gonna pretend there was no
distract from the
conflict
reality,
there?
which is
Yeah,
it is
he's-
very well known.
He's going to pretend that he
Donald
made world
Trump
peace.
is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is
There were
well
multiple
known
wars
that he
under him.
admires
Azerbaijan
dictators,
and
wants to be a dictator
Armenia
on day one,
were at
according
war.
to himself. It
Sudan.
is well known
The
that
Uyghurs.
he said of Putin
That nobody talks
he
about that.
can
That needs
do
to be talked
whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine.
The Christians.
It
China's
is well
doing to
known
the
The
that he
original
said when
Uyghurs is
Russia went into
ridiculous.
The
Ukraine,
original
it
Christians
was
of Palestine.
brilliant. It is well known he
Yeah, the ones
exchanged
that are in
love
Lebanon
letters
now,
with
yeah.
Kim Jong-un, and it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They
'Cause
can
you're dumb.
manipulate you with flattery.
I can't believe
and
that
favors.
he sourced
that
the
is
fucking
why
prime minister of Hungary.
So many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace.
leader.
That is why we understand
You know who else
that
loves
we
me?
have to have a
Bolsonaro.
president who is not consistently weak
Dictators love
and
me.
wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And she's the one that caused it. That's weak on national security.
Okay, we're
He
gonna
just
take a,
takes.
We're gonna take a quick pause here. We'll let everybody share some thoughts while I fix everybody's screen. The mammoth.
Yeah, sorry about
The
that.
mammoth has returned.
Internet issues are fun.
All right. Let's go to Tim. I'll fix Tim first.
Yeah, let's fix him.
Tim, thoughts so far?
Boy. Well, first, Kamala is doing better than I thought she would, but her answer on Israel is terrible.
Yeah.
And Trump he's very much on the back foot. He's very much having to react to what Kamala says.
All right, Mark, you is up. What are your thoughts of the debate that you haven't seen yet while I fix your camera?
I don't know. I was watching it on my phone, so I was able to keep appraised
Check
of
your
the SmackDown.
check your mic though. Check your mic though.
No.
There we go. That ooh, butter. What's the is it do you guys smell butter? I smell melted butter in my ears right now.
Coming to you live.
Ooh. Don't mind if I do. Ollie man, the camera is on you now. And he is coughing. Let me translate. Let me translate for you guys. Man, Mikey sure is right about stuff. I love his
Canada.
I love his take on politics. He's so smart. Dutch's books. All right. Let's see here.
Hey,
There
those
we
are
go.
good comic books.
That was unfair.
All right, Dutch.
Why are you showing the top of my head? All
I'm
right, there.
fixing all the cameras. But go ahead. Your thoughts so far, Dutch boy paints.
She, the two answers that there's been a few places where she's fallen short, but by and we can get into those after. Fracking Israel, J6, a few different touch points, but we could talk about those at the end.
And we're all fixed. There we go. All
Yeah.
Back at it. And I think this is I'm only a quarter of the way through my bottle, but I'm gonna try not to finish this tonight.
By allowing every nation last month for the year 160
Trump hasn't brought up
different
immigration
countries
yet. I wonder if he
sending
will.
people into our
you kidding
country.
me?
Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week. Said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it. Because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible.
That's your
it wouldn't
best
have happened with
friend.
me. The leaders
he's your
of other
bestie.
countries think that they're
He's your
weak
butt buddy.
and incompetent.
Putin
and they
endorsed
are.
her to try
They're
to hurt
grossly
her.
incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why
So
does
did
Biden go
Dick
in and
Cheney.
kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and
He
all
didn't
over
kill the
Europe?
Keystone Pipeline. He
Because
said
they're
that twice
weak
now.
and they're ineffective. And
He
Biden,
has no
by the way,
control
has paid
over a
lot of
pipeline
money.
in
Thank you. We have
Germany.
a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right
European
back.
He also
Union.
said
This
that
historic
immigrants
Keystone
are
Pipeline
eating cats
debate
and
from the National
dogs.
Constitution Center
So
right here
And
Ours
turning
is pretty low.
immigrants into trans people.
In prison.
in
Yeah.
prison by
Oh,
force.
good. They're taking a break. Thank God. Oh no, we can skip through it.
Hell
Hey,
yeah, baby!
porno what?
We can skip through it because we're at least 10 minutes behind.
All of our pauses have led to this magic moment.
Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest
I
to
never
do
said
so,
that.
arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have
we
said you
shouldn't
would
be
solve
funding
this
that
war in
either.
24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save
Wrong
lives
answer.
that are being
That's not a
uselessly,
yes.
people being killed
God, you
by
guys
the
are
millions.
behind.
It's the millions. It's so much
yeah, way
worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for
Is that fake
250
numbers?
billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to
did.
getting this thing done. than
Europe
we
is
are.
sending plenty of money
They're in
to
for
you.
$150 billion less.
Germany, I
because
believe,
Biden
is-
and you don't have the courage to ask
Germany, I believe, is
Europe,
number
like
one.
I did with NATO. They paid billions
Especially
and
in relation
billions,
to the
hundreds of
GDP.
billions of dollars when I said,
Yeah.
either you pay up or we're not going to protect you
This is
anymore.
actually
So
one
that's maybe
strong
one of the
point that he
reasons they
has,
don't
that
like me
some
as
of the
much
other
as they like
countries in
weak
NATO
people.
are not
But you
paying
take
their
a look at what's
fair
happening.
share. That's
we're
true.
in for 250 to 275
But
billion. They're in
NATO
to
is an
100
arm
to
of
150.
US imperialism,
They should be
frankly.
forced to equalize.
It's not an arm of
With that being
Polish
said,
imperialism.
I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky
Oh,
very
he's
well, and I
Poland.
know Putin very well. I have a good
He doesn't know
relationship,
Zelensky
and they
very
respect
well.
He knows Putin a lot
your
better.
president. Okay,
He knows
they
how to
respect
fucking
me.
call.
They don't respect
Yeah, he
Biden.
knows how to
would
fucking
you respect
blackmail
him? And
Zelensky.
why? For
Yeah,
what
they had a
reason?
perfect call.
He hasn't even made a phone
knows
call
how- he
in
knows
2
how to
years
extort the
Putin.
guy.
He hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and
DPJ.
get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will
We haven't
get it
heard about
settled
Hunter
before
Biden's
I even
laptop
become
yet.
president. If I
It's
win,
coming.
I'll give it
when
time.
I'm
That's on the bingo
president-elect,
card.
and what I'll do is I'll
the free
speak to
square.
one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin,
Yo, they probably had mad Hunter Biden's laptop shit, and then they found out Biden wouldn't run in, and they're like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
No, it
after
doesn't
I left,
matter.
unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I
Thanks to
saw him
you.
building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good,
right
strong
there,
point of
Mr. Putin.
negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no
So
idea
loose.
how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have
must be
millions
excited
of
to see
people
me,
dead.
Mr. Putin.
And it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know.
You threatened fucking North Korea and
Yeah.
called them fucking Rocket Man.
He threatened to nuke
Where
him.
is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he
Now
a
he's-
president?
He's
But
never
we're a
owned a
president
dog.
Mr.
that
President.
He's
doesn't
never
know he's
owned a dog.
alive.
your time.
No, fuck that. He's
They
never
threw
owned a
him
dog.
away like the ice cream cone.
Has he
He's
ever had a
never-
pet?
He's never
ever had a pet?
scooped poop once in his fucking life. I
Well,
can
that
guarantee
doesn't mean he
that.
hasn't had a dog.
He's-
That doesn't mean he hasn't had a
He's
dog.
never clipped a
Mike-
nail. He's
Mikey.
never cleaned up a
Nope.
poop. He's never cleaned up
Mikey.
piss on carpet.
Yeah.
He is not a
Mikey.
dog owner. Don't you dare bring up dogs right now, you
Mikey.
bitch. Yes, sir.
He has cleaned up dog shit because while in school, they kept putting it in his bed and under
That's
his pillow.
true. That's
So
true.
he has handled it before.
The hazing, I forgot about that.
Time is
Thank
up.
you.
Just to
But
clarify
that's not
the
a dog
question,
owner thing.
do you believe it's in the
he
U.S.
eat
best
the dog?
interest for Ukraine to win this
People
war?
hate
Yes or
them.
no?
I think it's the U.S.
What was
best
the
interest
question?
to get this war finished and just get it
No
done.
one knows. He just says
Negotiate
random
a deal
shit.
because
Get
we
it
have to
finished.
stop all of these human lives
Immigration bad.
from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President
Call the
Biden?
murderer.
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president
Call
you're not
him a
running
baby
against Joe
bitch.
Biden, you're running against me.
Woo!
I
Damn.
believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up.
There you go.
And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
That's how war works. Yeah, we get it.
Zelensky. I
Putin
shared
wants
with
to
him
make
American
Russia great again.
intelligence about how he could defend himself.
Make Russia
Days
USSR
later,
again.
I went to NATO's
I was about to say he
eastern
wants to
flank,
make Russia Soviet
to
again.
Poland and Romania.
Except without the
And
communism
through
this time.
the work that
Yes.
I and others did, we brought 50 countries
Soviet
together
communism
to
was just
support
dictatorial
Ukraine in
regime,
its
so it's about the
righteous
same.
defense.
Hey.
And
Stalinism.
because of our support, because of the air
Do these
defense, the
deaths in
ammunition,
Ukraine
the artillery.
count towards capitalism? I keep hearing communism 100 million. I'm just wondering which deaths I can count for the other side.
Yes.
The javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an
Oh, Mark, there's a new Abrams out. We should talk about it.
independent and free
Okay.
country. If
New
Donald Trump
Abrams
were
tank?
president,
Yeah.
Putin would be sitting in Kyiv
I
right
have heard
now.
a little bit about it.
And
They
understand
changed the drivetrain.
what that would mean.
It's lighter.
Because Putin's agenda is not
And
just
stronger.
about Ukraine.
It's the lightest battle tank
Understand
ever made.
why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president and that we understand the importance
Legit,
of the
all those
greatest
countries have
military
plans in
alliance
case
the
he
world has
becomes
ever known,
president
which is
again.
NATO.
Right.
Yes,
And what
they
we
do.
have done to preserve
winter
the
contingency.
ability of Zelensky
Yep.
and the Ukrainians to fight
Change
for
all
their
their narratives
independence.
because he's going to take them home and
Otherwise,
put them in the
Putin
bathroom.
would be sitting in
and then sell them
Kyiv
to
with his eyes
Putin.
on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly
Got 'em.
you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship
Got
with
'em.
what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Damn.
On Ukraine tonight, Afghanistan came up in the last hour.
Soldier boy, tell him.
I wanted to
Trump's like,
respond
"Can
to
I get
something
a
you said
response?"
earlier, and I'll,
No.
please,
Don't
I'll give you a minute
getting
here.
too many responses.
Putin
He's
would
been
be
getting more
sitting in
chances to
Moscow,
talk.
and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women.
400.
But he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please.
Maybe
He would
more.
have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now.
Quiet.
But eventually, you know, he's got a
Quiet,
thing
I'm
that
pontificating.
other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He got
Bro, everybody's got nuclear weapons.
Yo,
nuclear weapons.
Putin was talking
Nobody
about his
ever thinks
nuclear
about that.
weapons. Like, come on.
And eventually,
I
maybe
have
he'll use
no,
them, and
I-
maybe he hasn't
not
been
anymore.
that threatening. But
I gave
he
mine
does
up.
have that. Something
After
we don't
COVID,
even
I had
like
to
to
give mine
talk
up.
about. Nobody likes
Same
to talk
time
about
Ukraine
it.
did.
But just so you
I wanted a
understand,
stimulus check,
they
damn
sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went
Al
in
Trucker.
and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said
Also,
the wrong
his
things.
negotiation
That war
for
should have
peace was
never
a stalling
started. She
tactic.
was the emissary.
Mm-hmm.
They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war
Not with
started
Putin.
3 days later.
That's
She
not
met
true.
That's
with
the kind of
Zelensky.
talent we have
Yeah.
with her.
Dumbass.
She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the
Present
worst
company
vice
excluded.
president in the history of our country. But
I
let me
don't
tell you
count
something.
me.
She is a horrible
Counting's hard.
negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she
He
went to
did the
negotiate with
invasion.
Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow.
There you go.
And that is another one.
Let him know.
When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about
So, 6
standing
times?
as America always should.
Yeah,
As a
over
leader
5.
upholding international rules and norms. As a
There might be
leader
some
who
secret
shows
meetings there we don't know about.
strength,
They're dating.
understanding that the
They're dating
alliances
now.
we have around the world
They're
are
studying.
dependent
They're going
on
to
our
Putin.
ability to
They're going
look
to
out
Bar
for our
Louis.
friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about
true.
democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President
He
of the
trusted
United States
Putin
is
over his own
commander-in-chief,
intelligence agencies.
and the American
Yeah.
people have a right
Sounds
to
like Neville
rely
Chamberlain.
on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He
Mute
got
his
these
ass.
countries,
Who turned
the
his
28
microphone back
countries
up?
at the time to
Turn it
pay up.
off.
He said, "I've never."
Yeah. Who turned his shit back up? Because somebody literally faded him up. Like, I'm sick of this shit. ABC, get a hold of your shit. I'm done.
I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said,
You know
Trump
what,
did the
he's
most
getting more
amazing
time
thing
chances
I've
to
ever
talk,
seen.
and he's
He
doing
got
this.
these countries, the
I'll
28
take
countries
that
at the
with the amount
time,
of quips
to
they
pay
put
up.
at him,
He
being
said,
like,
I've never seen.
actually,
He's the
that's
head
a
of
lie.
NATO.
Kamala
He said,
Harris,
I've
let's
never
move on
seen.
to the
For
next
years,
question.
we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up. by
Maybe you
saying
shouldn't
one of
give
the
tax
statements
breaks
you
to
made
people who
before,
should be
But
putting
if
that
you
bill.
don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs
Nuke him.
he's
Just
ever
turn his
seen
mic
done.
off.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first
Everybody
hour of the
confused.
debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
No.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan.
Wrong
Four
answer.
presidents said they would,
time.
and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time
That's
this
not
century.
a good thing.
But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He
Call
calls
him
himself
weak.
a deal maker. Even
There you
his
go.
national security
The art
advisor
of the
said
fuck up.
it was a weak,
Art of
terrible
the
deal.
cook.
And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The
I've heard of them.
negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this,
Get it.
and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place
Wow.
of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where
On
we
Yom Kippur,
honor
I think, or
the
Ramadan?
importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected
Or
world
9/11?
leaders.
It was some day of
And
significance.
Yeah.
This former president,
Ooh,
as
there you
president,
go.
invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States.
There you go.
To be commander in
To be
chief with a
fair,
level
during the
of
withdrawal
respect.
from
And this gets
Afghanistan,
back
we did have
the
to
point of
partner with
how
the
he has
Taliban
consistently
against
disparaged
ISIS.
and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump,
But
your
I'm gonna
response
keep
to her
arming
saying
them
that
in
you began
Israel.
Well,
negotiations
we
with
should also
Taliban.
note she didn't
So-
answer the question there.
If you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved.
Like your mama.
And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban.
That's the only.
And
That's
I
his
told
only name.
Abdul,
Abdul.
don't do it
Yeah,
anymore. You do it
Abdul.
anymore, you're going to have
Abdul
problems.
Mahuba
Yeah,
He
he's
said,
like-
why do
he's
you
like
send
Prince.
me a picture of my house?
Yeah.
I said,
He only
I
has.
wonder
He
if
only
he's got
has
40
one name.
thieves.
He's only got one name. His name's Abdul.
He said they were really tough guys, really good fighters.
Nonsense.
you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left
We didn't leave any people behind.
$85 billion worth
was the
of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind.
Okay,
it.
that's
And
not
just to
true.
finish,
His plan was to
they
leave that behind. It was
blew it.
always going to the
agreement
Afghan
said
forces.
you have to do
That is
this,
a lie.
this,
That was
this,
their
this,
shit
and they
that we
didn't do it.
gave
They
them.
didn't do it. The agreement
That-
was,
Right now,
was
That is a
terminated
now-
by us.
narrative.
because
Pause real
they-
quick. That is a false narrative created by right-wing media that we gave that we just frivolously left behind equipment. That equipment, much like the equipment that we're giving to Ukraine and Israel, was given to the Afghan military forces that was basically our puppet government that was set up under Bush and then propagated by the Obama administration. That was supposed to be for them. Those motherfuckers quit in 2 fucking days. Nobody fucking saw that coming. That was a shortcoming of both the Trump and the Biden administrations, to be fair.
I was trying to say, Abdullah, the actual leader of the Taliban right now, is saying, son of a bitch, he still can't fucking remember my name.
Right. He's like, it's Maurice, not Abdullah. Maurice.
Abu.
My name
Muhammad.
is Jeremy, sir. It's a Christian name.
They didn't
Abu
do what
Aladdin.
they were supposed to
I'm
do.
from Kansas.
Look, when Jafar tried to make a deal.
And these
Jasmine
people
or
did the
Ivanka,
worst
she'd just be as
withdrawal.
good.
And in my
They were
opinion, the
taken
most embarrassing
by
moment in the history of our country.
Abdul-Jabbar.
And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because
He
they saw
thinks
how
that that's the
incompetent
most
she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and
He
politics.
thinks that's the
in this
most
country.
embarrassing
Mr.
moment.
President, you
Race and
recently
politics,
said
here
of
we
Vice
go.
President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care.
You did.
I don't care what she is. I don't
did
care.
a little.
You make a big deal
very
out of
much
something.
did.
I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm
I don't
asking.
know. I don't know. I mean, all
I don't
can
know what
say
my
is
words
I
are.
read where
So
she
he's
was
so Trump is
not black,
pro-trans racing?
that she put
Whatever you
out.
want to be?
and I'll say that.
He's pro
And then
racing.
I read
but
that
it
she
means
was
she
black,
went-
things.
and that's okay.
She
Either
went
one
to
was
school
okay with
one
me.
day and then came home black because of
That's
those
up to
woke
her.
teachers.
That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have
What the fuck do
someone
I have
who
to say?
wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us
But he loves
know that
Tim
we have so
Scott.
much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want
And
Ben
Tim
Carson.
Bristol.
Other guy.
And Tim Bristol.
And yeah,
this kind of approach that
Was
is
His
that
three
just
NFL
favorite
player
black-
that
trying to
ran in Georgia?
Herschel Walker.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Those are
Herschel
yeah.
Walker.
Trump has 4 black friends: Ben Carson, Tim Scott, Herschel Walker, and Tim Bristol.
separates us, and we don't want
Sorry, Clarence Thomas, you're off the list.
Yeah. I was just going to say,
this
what
kind
about
of
the
approach
judge?
that is just constantly trying to divide
yeah, I don't
us,
think he ever-
especially
He's too
by
easy to
race.
buy. so he
Okay,
doesn't
okay,
need to
okay,
be on the
okay,
list.
okay. We all made the joke. Let's go.
This kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race.
Oh, and Lil
let's
Wayne.
remember
Jesus fucking Christ, shut up.
how Donald Trump started.
Kanye
he was
West.
Bitch.
by race, and let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was a land. He owned land. He owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual
Oops.
who took out a full-page
That's
ad
true.
in
There
the
it
New
is.
York Times
There it is.
calling for the execution of 5 young
this is
black
true.
and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
Yep.
Right.
Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual
And he,
who
look at him nod
spread
his head.
birther lies
Yeah,
about
that's
the
true.
first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that. Want
Better than you.
this.
Please.
Want someone
Literally
who
a
understands
rock.
as I do. I travel our country.
Literally a meteorite.
We see
Literally
in each other
an empty
a
chair.
friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader
Hi,
who
Tim.
is constantly
What'd I
trying
miss?
to have Americans point their
Trump's a
fingers at
bigot.
each other. I meet with people
And
all
you're
the time.
and you are now a
who
black
tell
person.
me,
Yep.
Yep.
can we
That's
please
right.
just have
Congratulations.
discourse?
You've evolved.
Victoria in the chat says, that's my story. Went to school, and now I'm black.
Yeah.
About how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people. Knowing that regardless
I went to school a young
people's
black
color
man and
or
came
the
old an
language their
old
grandmother
white woman.
speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive
here we go.
He did it again.
Yeah, he's got
in
to
the history of our
respond.
country.
They're
There's
just
never
letting
been
him do
anything
whatever
like
he
it.
wants.
They're destroying our
Yeah.
See, in ABC, this is why no one respects Western journalism anymore. You make rules, you say these are the
follow 'em.
rules, and you don't fucking enforce them because
They did that
because
on the last one.
Thanks, Dutch.
And I don't know why they got away.
Thanks, Dutch. Because you won't enforce the rules, we can't take you seriously. Like, this is not what we want. If you want to portray yourself as doing a good job is letting us hear the debate and not this motherfucker dribble the whole time. Thanks. Go ahead, Dutch.
They did that the first one with Biden and him.
Yeah.
They did it perfectly. Why did they get away from that?
Because they touched themselves at night.
The only weird,
And they come up
yeah,
with
they were arguing about who would win a fucking golf match.
Which I still want to see, by the way.
But by the way, where is the golf match we've been promised?
$800 on Biden.
No, dude, Biden's got to remember which fucking golf
Biden
course
can't
it
even
is.
swing a club, dude.
Things like what she just said, going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park fight, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty.
From
He's
coerced
talking about the Central Park 5?
Yeah,
and
for those of you that are international, the Central Park 5 were 5 black and Afro-Latino boys who were arrested under the age of 16, I believe, for being in Central Park while a woman was sexually assaulted. They got picked up by the police. They were interrogated before they were allowed to talk to their parents, and through beating and coercion, each one of those boys confessed to their part of this crime, to which they had no actual dealing with. So while this was going on, Trump went to the New York Times, bought a full-page ad to spur on the encouragement of the death penalty for these little assassins for sexually assaulting this woman. Come to find out, none of it ever happened. And he has he has since never apologized. And in fact, he has just doubled down and tripled down on his wrong idea that these black and Afro-Latino men were guilty of this crime. He just kept on saying it as if it were true.
I think it's actually worse than that, and Tim will fact check me on this. I believe that they were exonerated, and then he took out the ad, still wanting them like re-prosecuted and given the death penalty.
Yeah, that's what he did.
This is what we're talking about.
Because he's a monster.
And I said,
I'm gonna vote
they
for
pled
him.
guilty. They
Mute, Dutch. No one's here. You're crunching ass.
Yeah,
badly hurt the
crunching
person,
on my-
the
loud.
person ultimately.
Loud.
And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty.
Mute means mute, motherfucker. I don't see the fucking red button going.
Jesus
But
Christ!
this is
fuck
a
off.
person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again.
Incorrect.
It's going to be bigger,
You
better,
actually
and
added
stronger.
$5 trillion to the deficit.
But they're
Try again.
destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is.
The
Their
deficit
oil
went down a little bit,
policies, every
so they're doing a
single
little better.
policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden.
What the
I
fuck,
don't know
Biden?
the gentleman, she says.
Oh my,
She
what?
is Biden.
Biden's on the
Kamala
stage.
Biden.
Worst
She's
inflation.
a doppelganger, and she's
She is Biden.
Biden. Yeah.
He's wearing a
Biden-
Biden
Biden's
suit, or
looking-
Biden's wearing a Kamala suit.
It's Biden wearing
Biden's
a
wearing a
Kamala
Kamala suit.
Yeah.
She stole his
horrible economy
clothes.
Because inflation
Why does Biden have this blouse in his closet?
has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Your time is up, Lindsay.
I want to respond to that, though. I want
Your time's up. You're done.
Briefly.
Fuck off.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certain.
Liar.
Liar, I can tell.
Look at those clothes. We know.
Look at those earrings. Those are Biden earrings.
And what I do offer is a new
She
generation
mugged
of
his
leadership
wife.
for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people.
Debbie Downer.
I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is
Stick
why
the landing,
I have
Kamala.
a plan. Let's talk about
Hallelujah.
our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help you in that most critical stage
Kira
of your
was just
child's
born.
development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to
Class of
pursue
2043.
what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering help with down payment of $25,000 down payment
41.
assistance for first-time home
God, I
buyers.
was close.
She's
That's
the class
the
of-
kind of
my daughter is the
conversation I
class of
believe,
41.
David, that people really want
feel
tonight,
old.
Yeah,
as
dude.
opposed to a conversation that
gotta
is
go to
constantly
graduation.
about belittling.
My niece
and
is the class of
name-calling.
37. It's just
Let's
as bad.
turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She
please.
has a plan to defund the police.
No.
She has a
Fuck off.
plan to
God damn it.
confiscate everybody's gun.
President
She
Trump,
has
you
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
He's just
That's
making
what
shit
her
up.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president
Move Area
has
51 to the
twice
moon.
that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
gonna
just need to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he
President
Jewish
Trump,
space
this is now
ladies.
your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say
You know, they're not calling it Obamacare anymore.
you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, nine years after you first started running,
Oh, yes.
do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was
Immigration.
We'll have it in
healthcare.
2 weeks.
Always
2 weeks.
was. It's
I'll have it on your desk Monday morning.
not very good today.
Immigration.
And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it, and we're going to replace it. But remember this. I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They
their bill,
wouldn't
dumb
vote to
fuck.
change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save
Why
it
would
and
the
make it as
Democrats
good
vote
as it
for
can
it?
be? Never going to be great.
They
Or
hate
do
the
I
American people,
let it
Tim.
rot?
I hate
And
them.
I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away.
Like the border.
I decided, and I told my people, the top
Like
people, and
Ukraine.
they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration.
They're all in jail.
We read
They're all in jail and been pardoned.
about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get
So you want to confess to the bad ones now?
rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And
No,
I
you didn't do
saved
shit.
it. I did the
His nose is running, or he's sweating.
right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too
jinx.
expensive for people.
He's got a
And
wet
what
upper
we will
lip
do is
flap.
we're looking at different plans. If we can come up
Whatever
with a
he's
plan
pooped
that's going to
himself during
cost
this debate.
our
She can smell it.
people, our population, less money, and be better health care than
Bro, if I'm debating somebody to be president and that motherfucker shits his diaper on stage during the debate, I am calling that shit out.
Gross.
I'm like, this motherfucker is shitting himself as we speak. Can we do something? I need a fan. Can we get a
Can I
fan
get
to
a
blow
fan
his
for a
shit
smell?
air? Can we blow
That
his
way.
shit air back to him, to his side of the stage?
Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run
But I
it
don't
as
have a
good as
plan,
it can be
so I've
run.
done nothing.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not
I've
president
got
right now.
concepts
But
of him.
if
He's got concepts.
we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do
called
that.
universal
and you'll be
health care.
hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice
Mitt
President
Romney on
Harris, in
charge.
2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away.
Stop spreading the lies that liberals don't own guns. Yes, the fuck we do. And if you come into
because of y'all.
And if you come onto our property, you'll find out.
So stop with the continuous
Who
lying
on this
about this
who on
stuff.
the show owns a gun?
As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand.
I own
just
several
look at the
swords
history
and
to
a
know
bow.
Where people stand. When Donald Trump was president,
Tim is lethal, but in a different way.
At close range. At close range.
At close range, Tim is not who you want to fuck with.
60 times.
Tim has
he tried to get rid
one
of the
hell of a
Affordable
super
Care.
soaker.
Tim's got a trebuchet that he's got pointed at.
I don't
several
have a
white cities.
trebuchet, but I know someone who does.
I can make
Wow,
one.
Fentanyl Nerf gun.
Tim has an aircraft carrier. He went straight to the
What's the one from Shield where it's like the aircraft carrier in the sky already?
the helipad.
Oh, the helicarrier.
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 Act 60 times.
I got
was
helicarrier,
a senator
fool.
at the time when I will never
Ollie
forget
Man apparently
the
has
early
multiple
morning
lightsabers.
hours when it was up
Ollie has a dark saber.
for a vote in the United States Senate,
This is
and
the
the
way.
late great John McCain, who you have disparaged
Better than the late great Hannibal Lecter.
Look at the
as
look
being
on his face.
you don't like him, you said at the time because he got caught.
Look,
He was
he
an
loves
American hero.
asshole.
The late great
He's
John
such an
McCain, I
asshole.
will never forget that night. Walked onto the Senate floor and said,
that's loud.
"No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care
Jesus.
Act. You have no plan." And what the Affordable
Hold on, guys. The Empire got in here. We got to deal with them real quick.
Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of
I muted it, you
insurance
asshole.
companies
You're
to
fine.
deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight. You remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a
If a woman got pregnant,
grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000.
and there's a lot of diabetics in this country. That was huge because it got up to several $100s a month for people to afford their insulin, which they need to be alive every day.
They were in those
$1,000.
thousands.
Yes. A lot of
That
you fuckers
legislation,
were coming
though,
north of the border to get your shit.
They were
just
trying to
be-
live, Ollie.
I mean, I don't think it covers anywhere near enough drugs.
No.
It needs to be greatly expanded.
Frustrated Atheist in the chat says, Pepperidge Farm remembers.
A year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding
put cocaine
that the
in
value I
goldfish.
bring to this
Hell yeah.
is that access to health care
Coke
should be
fish.
Bring the Coke back to Goldfish, I say.
a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Fastest
President
prologue
Harris, thank
in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made
of
a mistake. At number one,
Your
Again.
mother
What
made
the
a mistake.
fuck?
John McCain
Why
fought
is he allowed to
Obamacare.
respond?
He gets
for
the
10
last
years.
word on every single thing.
Yeah.
Seems fair to me.
I feel like they're trying to let him trip over himself, but it's only going to help him because that's how he.
It helps him with his base a lot.
That's
'cause it
his
makes him feel
debate
strong
style.
to his base.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm stronger on this debate stage because I keep interrupting and I keep having the last word, and they don't stop me
Right.
because they know I'm
Yeah.
right.
But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats
Shut
that
the
kept
fuck
it going.
up.
And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
How is
People
she
are paying
supposed to do that?
privately for
You
insurance
think that she?
that have worked
So you want her to
hard
regulate?
and made money, and they
No.
want to have private. She wants everybody to
no.
be on government
I
insurance.
don't know what
where
I
you
want.
wait
But I want her to impose rules on private companies.
Trump,
Is that what you're
thank you.
saying?
We have another
No,
issue that we'd
no,
like to get
that's
to
not
that's
true.
important for a number of Americans, in particular
I don't know.
younger
I
voters,
don't know
and
what I
that's
want.
climate change.
That's what
President
she should have
Trump, with
said there.
regard
So
to
you
the
want me to
environment,
regulate?
You say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President
Fuck
Harris,
clean
you
air.
call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what
this
would
should
you
be
do
fun.
to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you.
Trump
each.
Drill, baby,
Well,
drill.
the former president has
Yep,
said
we're on
that
the same
climate change
page.
is a hoax.
Yep.
And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as Vice President over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also
He's shaking his head,
increased
yeah.
domestic gas production
That's true.
to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know
Sean
that
Fain
part
for
of
president.
building a clean energy economy includes investing in
That dude's a
American
fucking
made
awesome
products,
psychopath. I love
American
him.
automobiles. It includes
$1 says Trump
growing
brings up Musk
what we
here.
can do around American manufacturing and opening up
Musk
auto
and
plants,
illegal
not
immigration.
closing them like happened under
Somehow
Donald Trump.
together.
President Harris,
Not
thank
sure
you.
how.
It
He's
didn't
illegal.
happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're
Why?
all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many
That was
cases owned by
2004.
China. They're building
They're
these
still
massive
there.
plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is
Ooh.
unbelievable.
What do
But
you
we're
mean,
not gonna let
these
that.
people?
We'll put tariffs
What do
on
you
those
mean,
cars
these
so
people?
they
Hold
can't
on,
come
bro.
into our country.
Hold on, bro. What you mean these people?
Because they will kill the United Auto
Whatever
Workers
race she
and
decided
any
she was
auto
today,
worker, whether it's
apparently.
in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and
Name the states that vote for
manufacturing
me.
in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they
Motherfucker, you don't even drive.
refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his
Ivanka patents.
son.
Biden
They
has
get
the
all
most
this money from Ukraine.
anti-China
They get all this money
policy
from all
of
of
any
these different
president
countries, and then you wonder
in the
why
last
is he
60
so
years.
loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5
How
million
is
dollars
he
from
loyal
the mayor
to
of Moscow's
China?
wife? Why did he get? Why
Let's
did she
talk
pay
about
him
the 10 million
$3.5
Egypt paid to
million?
you in your last campaign.
This is a
Let's talk about
crooked
that.
administration,
Saudis.
and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
And the Emirates.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our
Literally
candidates.
anyone
An
with
historic
a
night, this ABC
MasterCard.
News presidential debate.
All right, commercial break. That means it's camera time. Thanks, Tim. Oh, it's me. Hi.
All right, that's good. Next.
Mark.
I'm sad.
That's so far. How
Very sad.
are both parties doing, do you think? How's Kamala doing? And then conversely, how's Trump doing?
Trump is doing the same thing he always does. He's making shit up. He's getting the last word. Fuck ABC for letting him do that. She is doing very well. She is not putting enough detail and like good strike backs to some of the stupid shit Trump is saying. Just like I forget who said someone in our group here said that, oh, you want me to regulate insurance? Okay. Like
Right.
there's perfect openings that she could be taking a better advantage of, but overall she's doing very good.
Nolan's not here. Ollie man, how's Trump
Yo.
doing? How's Trump doing? How's Madam President doing?
Trump's making an ass of himself, as per norm. Yeah, he keeps interrupting, going off topic, and well, not interrupting. He's not interrupting. He's just whenever she's done talking, he always has to get another word in, and they're letting him, and that's pissing me off quite a bit. I got to be honest with you. I'm disappointed. But on her side, yeah, she's made a lot of great points. Yeah, but she's come up weak, like on the Israel thing.
Yeah.
So it's she's winning the debate in my opinion, but Mark's right. She needs to have a couple of more zingers at some of the stupid stuff he's saying. So,
perfect openings. There's just
yeah.
So, Dutch boy paints. What say you?
Dutch Master Cigars. Yeah, I mean, look, it's time to stop fucking being nice to our quote unquote Republican fucking friends. They're not nice to us. Trump sits there and talks shit about how the fucking Democrats fucking blocked, when they brought up the ACA. Well, 49 Democrats voted against it too. John McCain was just the one vote. And that's exactly what they did on the border bill. So it's for some reason when Democrats vote against Trump agenda, they're blocking. But it's okay for Republicans to vote against Democratic stuff because that's anti-American. And of course we should vote against it. It's nonsense. Stop fucking being nice to these motherfuckers. She should have said exactly what the fuck I said for her to say, like Mark had just brought up. He's literally saying they should force companies to do things. Oh, is that actually what you're saying? Explain what you mean by that, since you want to keep taking the fucking microphone back. It's absolutely insane. Stop being nice. Take the gloves off. Punch this motherfucker in his fucking face. People will like you for it. Clearly, because they like him for it.
Well, but I will say, as a counter to that, there is a very narrow line in terms of a female candidate,
especially
looking
a black
nasty.
female candidate. Yeah.
And so, like, if Biden was still running and on his game, he should be doing the clapbacks really hard.
Yeah, but you don't have to do
handicapped with it a little.
You
bit.
don't have to do it calling him a motherfucker. You call him out on his bullshit.
Motherfucker.
And you call him out on his bullshit and say, "Oh, expand on that," because it sounds to me like you're fucking talking about fucking socialism.
Yeah. Trump's a communist. Next.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing.
Pretty soon we're going to be calm this country.
We begin with
Exactly.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country.
Are these
One
closings?
that is focused on the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other that is focused on the past. And an attempt to take us backward.
Oh, fuck. They are giving
we're
him the
not
last
going
word again.
back.
Sorry.
And I do
He was
believe
gonna take it
that
anyway.
the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American
Literally
people,
any
which is
plan.
why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living.
This is the part
believe
that she's not good
in
at.
what we can do together. That is about.
Says you, but as a young person who needs somewhere to fucking live, this resonates.
No. I'm
Yes.
just you know what I'm saying.
No, I get it. It's not resonating with you because you're not in the position for it to resonate.
No,
with
I'm talking about delivery.
There needs to be more. I agree. There needs to be a little more fire to it. It's too. It's
not
like
about the
smooth in the
message.
middle.
It's not about the message, it's the inflection. You know, people are going to judge her by a different. Trump can make all the flubs that he wants. Nobody's going to fucking care. For some reason, every single time that she like takes a pause, it's going to be heavily criticized, and they're going to say that she can't spit out a sentence.
Yeah, that's because racist motherfuckers want to knock down every little fucking thing she says. Meanwhile, this motherfucker is speaking gibberish on the other end of the stage. I'm not buying in to that narrative. I don't care if people think she sounds stupid because she's being passionate. That's their fucking fault. I'm not responsible for them being unempathetic. That's their problem. They're dumb. We can't drag the dumb with us forever, Dutch. We have to leave them, go to the checkpoint and come back. Like, we can't hit Summit dragging them with us.
Even the dumb have rights, Mikey.
for now.
My point is her team and her need to work more on the parts where she's talking to the camera. She's fucking great talking to him, but when it comes time, like the two weakest times in this have been this beginning of this opening statement, and I'm sorry, the beginning of the closing statement and the opening statement. Those are the two parts where she has room for improvement. Let's just say
She's not even done yet. Thank you.
America standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why?
What are you going to do, bitch?
She done it. She's been there for 3.5 years.
She's the VP, moron. She has literally no power.
He literally just substituted he for she on his note card.
Yep. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why
they have created jobs?
She done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it. And you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like
there's a Canadian solution for that, Mark.
Fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country
put the lighter
strong,
down,
whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building.
Not one day on this podcast goes by without the Canadians threatening to burn our White House down again.
Normal.
We'll see. They're getting antsy. They keep setting the forests on fire.
We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple.
Says the guy who put tariffs on our largest importer.
Simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't
they're
have
laughing
any
that you
idea
might be
what's
back
going
in
on.
office.
We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have
some
wars
of them are giggling, saying, "Oh yeah, let it
Russia
happen."
and
There's
Ukraine.
so much more power.
We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our
modern nukes aren't what you think they are.
Entire military. She gave a lot of it away.
He would know that if he did any of his military briefings.
To the Taliban.
Thermonuclear weapons.
She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia.
I don't think they're going to shake hands on the next one.
I'm Lindsay Davis.
And there's not going to be a next one. There's not going to be in the U.S. and all over the world. From all of us here at ABC.
There's only a VP debate.
Good night.
I thought there was supposed to be 3.
Nope.
Nah.
They
agreed to 2. He will, and he tried to back out of this one. He's not going to agree to a third one because he doesn't. He's not winning any supporters with this. He's maintaining his base, but he can't add to his campaign.
The base is diamond plated. I mean, he could.
Yep.
The truest thing.
I disagree
the truest
with
thing. Okay, that's fine. You could disagree. I don't see any movement from anyone that I've ever met who is a Trump person. Not one.
Trump,
no.
But that's
anecdotally speaking.
But that's kind of like where a lot of people like to take that, right? Is they like to take it into that. Well, this is happening over here. No. I think you guys are all asking the wrong question. Middle of the road, fiscal conservative Republicans did not sign up for the MAGA Trump train. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah.
They did not sign up for crazy. They did not sign up for fucking ridiculous. But they signed up for lower taxes for their fucking business. They didn't sign up for all this culture war shit. So every time he throws that shit on the fire, he loses a couple of people. He loses
but that's not the base,
districts.
though, bro. That's not the base I'm referring to.
His 15 or 20% base.
Hold on. Dutch, what is his base that you keep referring to? Are you talking about the Republican base or the MAGA crowd?
I'm talking about MAGA.
Yeah.
MAGA crowd is what percentage of Republicans, in your opinion?
Of Republicans? I know it's about 28% of the voting base. With Republicans, I would probably say 55, 65.
Right. So he can't even
that big. Holy fuck.
So he can't even win the Republican side, which the Republicans can't win on the popular vote, and they need to use the Electoral College to get all of their victories, right? So what you're essentially saying is this person who has a quarter of the American populace is so powerful that we can't do. No, it is bullshit. He has, like, the line needs to be drawn in the Republican Party, not between right and left. He can't get Republicans because he's not a Republican. He's a piece of shit trying to take over the American government using the Republican Party. The Republicans are not just going to sit back and let him just be an asshole.
We know that. We saw that. We saw that over the summer when Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, et cetera. I mean, but you saw how that went.
So
I need to interject something here.
Yes, sir.
I just want to. Well, first I want to propose something here. Like we got to agree. Like Trump's got this 20-25% base of the of voters that are just we're for Trump no matter what the fuck happens. Right. Trump could show up in a fucking bear costume with a sash on it that says "I sucked Putin's dick," and he still wouldn't lose those voters, right?
They're right there sucking dick with him.
Yeah. So, but could Harris do something to lose all of her voters? Yes. Yeah. So that's one advantage Trump has.
That's true.
Right? Yes. That he has that base that it doesn't matter what the fuck he does, they're voting for him.
Yeah.
And I would also
Harris definitely has a line that she can't cross.
Yes. So
and I would argue too that the remaining 35-40% of Republicans that are quote unquote undecided, there are a decent portion of them that will end up voting for Trump just because, one, they either always vote Republican or I'm Christian and Trump is technically Christian, so I'm going to vote for him. I forget. Yep. It's there was a documentary where a guy went and talked to people in Mississippi and tried to figure out why this poor state that would benefit from blue policy always votes red. And they're like, well, they're Christian and low taxes. The fuck anything else that happens. Right. They don't
Schools
give a
shit. Schools are shit. Healthcare is shit.
Like, if Trump would have to, like, convert to Islam or some other religion to maybe lose some of them. And he won't do that. So I think at the end of the day, in the Republican Party, he's going to get at least 80% or more because some people are just not going to be able to stomach voting Democrat. And I think that's very sad. If a Republican, to me, made a better argument to be president than the Democrat running, I don't mind voting for the other side if it makes sense. If it made sense in a long time, but
I think that the two primaries that he's been a part of, he's made it very clear that he has no interest in doing anything except for dismantling the Republican Party. You know what I mean? Like, he came up there almost like an independent.
Yeah.
Trying to like, you know, shake up the hen house.
Because there was definitely an insurrection inside the Republican Party.
Correct. And because he's hijacked the Republican Party and they haven't completely given him the keys to the castle, Like, there's still people fighting him. The Liz Cheneys, which is what I mean. Like, the Cheney name, despite what we may think about it as progressives and liberals and leftists and all that good shit, it still carries some weight. That's still Liz Cheney. You know what I mean?
Good endorsement.
You know what I mean? Like that like Republicans, not MAGA, Republicans are looking at this like, you know, this is getting hard to defend here. You know what I mean? Like, this is getting hard to fucking stand up with.
You know what Cheney needs to say? You know what Cheney really? Yeah, if you're not going to vote for Harris, stay home. That's what he should be saying. If you're not going to vote for Harris, just stay home.
Vote for Kennedy.
Right.
Well, yeah, Kennedy's off the ballot now.
Just vote for him anyway.
He's off his meds too.
Right. And that was another piece of propaganda, of course. Fucking Kennedy, obviously selling him out. Him and Tulsi selling him for themselves for a cabinet position or something like that. But like it's and they're actually really interesting case studies. It's like Tulsi Gabbard is a great case study. I mean, anytime that someone leaves the left, it's national news. You know, someone leaves the right. Now we're more honest on the left, because let's just look at this way. When Tulsi Gabbard left the left and endorsed Trump, she picked up most of the Trump talking points. Maybe not the most extreme ones, but she's in the sandwich, right? So on the left, though, we know Dick Cheney is a fucking war criminal. We know that he's a fucking hawk. We know for a fucking fact that guy was a fucking corrupt piece of shit. We don't want him, right? So that hurts us. It makes us more honest and more fluid, but we also know that does hurt us too, because we're like, we don't want your fucking endorsement. You know what I mean? Now Kamala came out and embraced that endorsement, which I think
I've breaking news.
Breaking news
right now.
Going to Tim Kim right now.
4 minutes ago, Taylor Swift has endorsed Kamala for president.
That's game, bitch.
From Universal Studios Hollywood.
As far as her debate goes, though, the one thing that I want to see some change on is the talk around energy. Her telling us that she's all of a sudden for fracking isn't overwhelmingly convincing.
But she said, all right, you guys have, but the flip-flopping has two things. Saying I'm anti pro-choice, but then I also support IVS. That's a flip-flop. Hey, the people of Philadelphia or the people of Pennsylvania have reached out to me and let me know I really need fracking to stay a thing for like the next little while until I figure out my next thing. Adjusting your policy based on the input from the citizenry is called politics.
Yes, and that's a good...
not flip-flopping. Him saying I didn't see things that happened is you know what I mean? Like, it's different than being a crazy person than, okay, they really need this right now. Okay, I don't like it, but we're going to let you. That's called leadership. You have to let people do things that you don't always agree with sometimes.
You're exactly right. And I think that's actually that's kind of the way that I think. I don't know if she needs to say that the people of Pennsylvania called me and told me this, but I know you were being, you weren't being literal there, but there's a way to talk about this in a way that makes a lot more sense than the way that the DNC has positioned this fracking issue.
Yeah, fuck the DNC. This channel does not support the DNC or the RNC.
Correct. What you can do is you can say, look, the people of Pennsylvania, I've talked to the people of Pennsylvania. The people of Pennsylvania are not sitting there worrying about fracking all day, every day. It is one issue. It's not this transactional thing. They also what they want is good jobs. Those jobs happen to be in fracking at the moment. Fracking gets $56 billion in subsidies. We're going to look at moving in time some of those subsidies to other places to create more sustainable long-term jobs for Pennsylvanians that are going to enrich their lives. In the meantime, as we go through and we still continue to frack, we are going to hold companies more responsible for the issues that come along with fracking, which are the reasons why we don't like fracking, like the water contamination. We're going to hold companies responsible for the contamination for the fresh water that's put into that, used in that process. All she had
to say was, yeah, I'll support fracking as long as it's unionized. Done.
That wouldn't be it. I could get behind that. I could get behind that. I mean, that Fox News would lose their shit.
So that the people aren't losing their health, their water table, their everything for no wages. If they want to take that risk and they want to poison themselves, fine. I will try to make it as least poisonous as possible using the EPA.
Exactly.
But
there are ways to keep the same without releasing methane.
But at the same,
fuck fracking.
I mean, fracking's stupid. If you ask me, like we shouldn't be using fossil fuels anyway.
It causes earthquakes.
If aliens came down, that is true. It is true. How do you destabilize the entire fucking bedrock and then say it doesn't cause earthquakes? Of course, it fucking causes earthquakes. Of course,
little earthquakes. They're not.
People are talking about it as in like earthquakes, like we get in California, where it's like a 6, 7 pointer, right? You're talking about your
homes
0.7 to
1.2. The homes in California are built to withstand earthquakes. Are they built to withstand earthquakes in Philadelphia?
They're up to a 1 on the scale, yeah, and that's what you get from frack. That's not the part of fracking that is the issue. The part of fracking that is the issue is the water and the climate change impact, right? So you have air pollution, fracking releases methane, fracking releases
people don't care
other like airborne hydrocarbons and stuff like that. But it also gives them money, and but what they think they need to point out is the fact that fracking oil in this country is the most highly subsidized trade that there is out there, with the possible exception of banking, right? Oil gets so much money from us as far as subsidy, especially if you include overseas oil, and the fact that our fucking aircraft carriers are fucking following these fucking boats around that are fucking transporting it and protecting them. We're spending shit tons of fucking money on oil protectionism, right? So if we can look at moving those subsidies, we're not and making it very, very, very clear, like Mikey said, that we're not looking at some absolutionist ridiculousness where we're just going to stop doing something tomorrow, and deal with the problems in a very Leninist way. What we're looking at doing is transitioning away over the course of a couple of generations from our dependency on oil. That's a very simple statement and a powerful statement to make that people in Pennsylvania would resonate.
But it doesn't counter the opposing side, which is we need to drill because we want to be oil barons like the Saudis, which is what Trump wants to do, right? Like
we already are.
That's what Stephen Miller wants. That's what Steve Bannon wants. That's what his inside cabinet wants us to be. Is this like rich oil country where we don't really have to really like work and do shit or produce anything because everything is reliant on this massive amount of oil that we're getting out of the ground. But if it's at the cost of everybody's health, everybody's clean water, Americans are pretty clear that they don't want it. We don't need it. You know what I mean? Like we already had 300 years of hyper growth in this country due to slave labor. Like we don't need to be oil barons because we're already leaders on the economic front. So all this drill shit is just him trying to become a dictator, him trying to be a Russian oligarch. If you don't think for a second that he's not going to slip his claws into those oil companies and get his way in there so that he owns part of them so that he can be as rich as Putin, this is what he does. Like he's not good at anything except for attaching. He's the fucking guy who fucking shows up late to the birthday party and wants to sign the card.
Yeah.
Like if you don't think he's going to get his nettles. Like, if you don't think he's going to get his nettles into this fucking oil drilling shit so that he can personally enrich himself, you're fucking delusional, and I got a fucking bridge to sell you.
Yeah, and what's important is how the message is received. The message from the right is that the left hates oil and wants, to do away with oil tomorrow. None of us are stupid. There's oil in my glasses. There's oil in our computer. We use this stuff in a variety of ways, plastics, etc. So we acknowledge that. We just want to eventually move away from oil as a storage for energy for our cars, because that's when you put gas into a car, it stores energy, which is later combusted by that car into something useful. Oil by itself isn't useful unless combusted. A battery is not useful
It's delicious.
unless plugged in, right? So, it's like these people want to walk around. I've joked with a few people. I'm like, what do you want, a fucking gasoline powered fucking iPhone because you fucking hate electric so goddamn much?
Yes.
So, there's a lot of issues with lithium. We know that. There's a lot of issues with mining of cobalt and nickel, et cetera. These other issues that we have within the extraction of the materials that we use for batteries.
Wait a minute. Let's back up for 2 steps. Why is that shit hard to get to? Because most of that shit comes from the Horn of Creation in fucking Africa. And did we treat with any African countries to get any deals set up so that we could ore
right now we're
so that we can get that ore in a reasonable and ethical way? No, we just said let China do it.
Yeah, well, China has plenty of lithium in China. But
they're using resources outside the country first.
Right, but they're also fucking building highways in Africa and building infrastructure in Africa, ports and shit like that in Africa, so that they can extract the ore and minerals out of the ground. So instead of us doing the same thing, but having a deal that is beneficial, equally beneficial, mutually beneficial to us and the African nations that we want to mine from, they said, fuck it, let China already built the fucking highway, let them have at it. That's a us problem. We had every opportunity to do the right thing. And that really needs to be the focal point on moving forward, especially when it comes to millennials. So Gen X, boomers, I'm sorry, but your day in the sun is eclipsing. Okay? We're getting sick of your shit and you're not going to be here for much longer. After you guys are fucking gone, we're going to have to still live in this world that you no longer inhabit. So no one's interested in fucking bullshit policies that kill the planet, that create future wars. Like, why is the Horn of Africa so unsettled, and why is there so much? There's like 18 civil wars going on right now, and none of them are reported in Western media. But Teslas always make it to the front page. As Americans, we have to be responsible for the news that we intake and for the economic decisions that we make going forward. So if political parties don't want to take into account the full picture of what's going on, millennials don't give a fuck. We'll vote ourselves in and get rid of you because we're almost old enough. You know what I mean? Like you're literally in your swan song without knowing it. And I wish people in older generations would really understand that you're not like you keep preaching to the boomers when you should be preaching to the millennials. You know, because we're the ones that have all the money now. We don't have any property, but we have all the money.
No, I would disagree.
We don't have the money. We don't have money.
The boomers have all the money and all the property.
No, but here's the thing. For who's working right now and who has the income, it is us. Who has the property and the savings, it might be them. I'll give you that. I agree with you 100%. But that only lasts you so long, and that explains why everybody is crunching and squeezing the last little bits out of their properties that they can, and how these landlords got all fucking desperate and greedy and stuff, because motherfuckers don't have
25 years though.
Not if the fucking Harris Walls camp ticket gets in. Because this is the problem.
They will still pander to that group.
Because the major ways that they're pumping money out of our generation is being legislated in front of us. So if we don't pay attention to the legislation that's in front of us, that is going to secure our future going forward, then that's on us. But I am glad that the modern day oligarchs that all of us millennials have to live under are being highlighted. Right, because you can't just I'm just a humble landlord. That could mean nothing in 1990. It means everything now.
Yeah.
What you fucking mean you're a landlord? You know what I mean? Like it's different now. Like the world is different now.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. And I mean, a lot of that is cyclical, though. I mean, you know that already. Like, I'm a Gen Xer, and on the younger end of Gen Xers, but we grew up fighting against the two generations. They're baby boomers, kind of like two different generations. Fighting against them. You guys are pushing against us and baby boomers. Gen Z is going to push against millennials. Whatever the one is that my son is in, and that your daughter Mikey is in, Alpha.
Omega Alpha.
That anybody I think under 9
Megatron
is in that generation, and they're always going to be critical of the generations that are ahead of them, and the ones ahead are always going to look down on them and tell them that they don't know shit. The good news for the young people in America now, and this is an advantage that I don't think any of definitely me, Ollie, man, and I don't know how old Mark is, but you look old as shit. But like, I'm 50. I didn't grow up with access to the internet. I was taught shit in school that I just assumed it was true, because why would my teacher tell me that the Trail of Tears wasn't that bad? If it wasn't, it must have not been that bad. Slavery actually gave black people a lot of opportunity that they wouldn't have had if it weren't for slavery, that sort of thing, right? And you're told these things when you're a kid, and you don't have the opportunity to go and then look at your phone and be like, that's fucking bullshit. It was culture shock to me 7 or 8 years ago, or when I started transitioning from being, a relatively uninvolved conservative, that a lot of the history that I was taught was not correct. And a lot of people, when I tell them that history isn't correct and point out the actual history to them, they get mad at me as if I've changed it. I didn't change it. We wrote it wrong. We had all these facts, and you guys have access to that, and the next generation is going to have even more fucking access to it.
Consider the Gulf War versus Gaza, and just the media coverage, and then what you can glean for yourself. That's the difference. Yeah. No one's buying this shit. So when you try to like when the same old lies are attempted to be pumped to the next generation, it sounds crazy because it's not based in reality, and we all know it.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that, McDonald's, they just had all these. No, motherfucker, I know how much a McDouble is supposed to be. I'm not dumb.
$1.
A McDouble is $1, bro. Like, what are you talking about?
With the exception of Jewish people who knew better, it wasn't old white people that were hearing the message of Dr. King. It was young white people who heard that message and paid attention and were like, yeah, we need to fucking do something. Holy shit, that shit's happening down there. Obviously, Jewish people, regardless of their age, were smart enough and savvy enough and had the experience very recently from Europe to have known what was going on, right? And that's why I'm very sympathetic to Jewish people. And the Israel conversation is a complex one, because the people who live in Israel today and were born, 2 years ago, they deserve a home too, right? But what I think that the Democratic Party is missing that's actually an interesting point, because I say that all the time. Why does it have to be that particular strip of land only, and that's the only one that's in conversation, right? Like, are we ever talking about going back and giving land back to the Native Americans? Let's just give them Georgia back, right? That you'll never have that conversation, because this is all about the book of Revelation. It's all about fulfilling messianic prophecy, because they believe that once Palestine has been destroyed and that Muslims are booted out of there, that they can rebuild the temple and Jesus is going to come back the next day. They think that that's going to happen. That's all this is about. Jewish people don't even believe in that. They're just using it to their advantage. And I shouldn't say Jewish people. The Israeli government is doing that. A little factoid that you guys might know, but some of the listeners might not know about the Netanyahu party, the Likud party, is that they evolved from a terrorist organization called Irgun. Irgun was a literal terrorist organization that was blowing up British people and assassinating Arab leaders and causing insurrections, et cetera, in the 1920s, 30s, and I think early 40s, because they were very, very much being oppressed, not only in Europe, but also in Israel, because there's always been Jewish people there. So Irgun was a terrorist group that after 1947 was amalgamated into the Israeli IDF. Imagine
IOF.
if Hamas was amalgamated into a Palestinian army. This happened, and they then became another political party, which I forget the name. It started with a H, and then that party
You're in the weeds, Dutch. Land it.
merged with another party to become literally Likud, which is the party of Benjamin Netanyahu, which has always had the stance of no two-state solution.
So when you
those things are just true.
So when the conversation comes up of the Middle East and Israel and Gaza and Palestine, when one person says to every media source that will listen, don't bring the IDF in, all the hostages will be returned to you on October 8th, and it never gets reported in Western media, we have a problem.
We definitely do.
When it could have literally have been over already, we have a problem. But we're not gonna spend the whole show talking about that.
No.
All right, how old do you think I am? Let's backtrack here.
Yeah, how old is the Mammoth?
Let me just land the plane on that real quick.
The plane is landed. How old is Mammoth?
For what I want Kamala to say on that next time, if there is one, is yes, what Hamas did was terrible, but why does Hamas exist in the first place? The fact that those people live in an open air prison, and there's been since 2014, Tim, correct me, 4 wars since, four major conflicts, a really bad one in 2018 while Trump was in office, right after the Abraham Accords.
Yeah.
IDF was literally shooting disabled people from the wall who were just marching.
Sniper fire too.
This has been going on since 1947, since a little bit before that. And the fact that these people live in an open air prison, much like is true of the Uyghurs, we have to talk about that, and we have to say, look, this is why the problem exists.
Do you mean the Uyghurs?
Did I say? Yeah, I was thinking of.
That's our word.
The Uyghurs. But the point is, this issue exists for a reason. The Balfour Declaration.
America is the reason.
No, well, not really. It's more Britain.
Yes.
Super honest with you, but it was
Europe.
American evangelicals that were very much behind it.
So this is where I'm going to bring you up to today. Nobody gives a fuck about Balfour. America is currently shipping bombs. That is the problem. And that's where a lot of people who are younger don't care about politics, because it's always brought into this thing where we can't do the right thing because this. No one gives a shit about previous excuses. Do the right thing or get out. That's where we're at. You must do the right thing or we will vote you out. I have never seen an uncommitted vote like this. Muslims are a part of American society. And if you keep treating them like they are worthless and that they can get blown up and no one gives a shit, and why do you even care? What do you hate, Jews? Like, that ship has sailed. That
For
ship,
young
that
people,
that elf ship to the Undying Lands is gone, and there is no amount of swimming that you're gonna do to catch up to that ship.
New Jersey.
Motherfuckers do not want to see little kids blown up on their fucking TikTok every fucking morning. So stop the shit, and no one gives a fuck about what you have to do or what consequences you have to suffer, or if you lose this percentage of voters. No one cares. It's do the right thing time or get out.
Yeah.
Yes, Tim.
I would like a turn.
How old am I, Tim?
I'm going to say 44.
Damn.
Tim's the oldest of us.
Yeah, I think I'm.
Am I right or am I wrong?
No, I think
You are
Ali's the
wrong,
oldest,
sir.
but you know.
Yeah.
How old are you, Mark?
32.
I think I'm going to blame the camera.
They make them hardy in Minnesota.
Anyway, Tim was talking.
So I want to bring this all the way back to like 20 minutes ago when we were talking about Trump's favorability in the Republican Party.
Yes, sir.
The day
We
that
were
Trump
talking about
left
that?
office in 2021, his favorability among Republicans was 81%.
Okay.
81% among all Republicans.
That was swearing in day.
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah. As of today, his favorability among all Republicans is 80%.
He's lost.
Bastard.
Republicans will vote for him, regardless of what Dick Cheney does, regardless of what Liz Cheney does. They will vote for him. Now, all people's, his favorability is 43%. And that's pretty high. His ceiling among all people's is about 40.
Yeah.
So like his core Republican base has always been his core Republican base. He's lost the smidgen, the tiniest bit of support among Republicans.
And the odd part is, Tim, if you would, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but well, for everybody, but it seems to me that those numbers have crept up since the last couple of charges because people are just starting to think that it's fake. So if you look back at the favorability ratings since the charges have started to been filed, his favorability rating has increased.
Yeah, and his favorability hit a low of like 70% before that. And then as it's gotten closer to the election, his favorability has gone back up. Like his low was, let's see, January 2023.
Do we have, I don't know if you'd be able to search this, but I'll just ask the question. Are we able to look up how his numbers are doing with his trials going forward? Because I think there are a lot of Republicans, like actual Republicans, not MAGA Republicans, but actual Republicans who don't like these convictions. They don't like to see the cases go forward. And I think he bleeds support in his criminal activities. I
don't think it impacts him that much with Republicans. I think that it actually helps him with moderates and libertarians because they think it's just a sham by the left. They're buying into the Fox News narrative. And it's, again, the Democratic Party doing such an amazing job with their fucking messaging.
I looked up a couple of polls, and they seem to suggest that only 1 in 10 Republican voters would be swayed by his trials or convictions or whatever.
So even that number, 1 in 10, that's not nothing. You know what I mean? Like, this has to be a death by 1,000 cuts. It can't be this big, and then all the Republicans suddenly grew a conscience. That ain't going to ever happen. And if anybody's banking on that to happen, but when you are talking about swing states, when you are talking about, purple states, being convicted of fucking felonies is not a good look. It doesn't bode well.
It shouldn't be.
The problem is that it's not a good look. Yes, I 100% agree. And they even agree, but it's not enough to sway their vote. In a lot of cases, a couple of Republicans I know, and I haven't talked to them for a lot of years, but they couldn't give a fuck whether Trump's guilty of the crimes or not. They're just voting Republican because they're Republican.
And that is something.
They don't care who it is.
And that's something
that goes back to my point about the Deep South. They vote Republican because they're Christian.
And
they vote Republican because low taxes. And they could give a shit about the rest.
And that's what you guys need to be reminding people when you're having these Facebook debates is you don't.
Oh, I don't do that.
Well, some people in the audience might. But when you're having those fights, this is what you need to remind them of. that even like dyed in the wool Republicans are saying this is not Republican behavior. Like, you need to distance him from the Republican Party because he's not part of the Republican Party. And every time we acknowledge that he's doing that, no, he's hijacking. He is thieving. He is. Where are the Republicans? Where are all the
their
people?
base doesn't care.
Well, where are all the people who thought the Cheneys were this great family and the Bushes were this great family? Where are all of you? Because right now you're being punked by a bully.
Copped.
And you're waiting for Kamala Harris to come and save the fucking day because you're scared of him. Vote him out. Do the right thing, and that you gotta do the right thing, people.
But they had their opportunity this summer, and it didn't happen. Nikki Haley couldn't even get 20% of the vote
because she's Indian.
That's true, but Ron DeSantis couldn't get it either
because he's from Florida.
And to be honest with you, as much as I despise Trump, I am thrilled. I am tickled to death that Trump is the candidate and not DeSantis, because DeSantis would fucking dog walk in a general, maybe not a primary against Trump, but in a general, DeSantis would have fucking dog walked Biden, Kamala Harris, maybe anybody except, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but Gavin Newsom is probably the only person who could have possibly even thought about beating him.
So you
and
think
Bernie Sanders? Like Gavin Newsom
so you think Gavin Newsom would out debate Kamala Harris?
No, that's not what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is who would win the debate. Who would win the election?
So if DeSantis can't deal with Gavin Newsom, what makes you think he can deal with Kamala Harris?
I said that Gavin Newsom might have a chance at beating him. Maybe, because Gavin Newsom did hold his own pretty well with him in that governor's debate they had about 8-9 months ago.
Where he got stomped.
I would say that I think that he's probably the only Democrat I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe Warnock. Warnock actually would do a pretty good job too. But that's not the hand that we have.
DeSantis can't smile right.
He certainly can't, and he's very memeable. But are you going to tell me that DeSantis wouldn't outperform Trump in this election?
He didn't.
He literally lost.
That's not what I asked you.
No. You can't compare the primary to the election.
Correct. I'm talking about in the general. If Trump died today and DeSantis was implemented as the candidate, is DeSantis polling above or below Trump numbers?
Below.
But a lot of the Trump, a lot of Trump's numbers are built on bullying, though. Like, people are afraid to go against MAGA because they don't want to be doxxed. They don't want, their social media accounts to be bombarded with morons. Like, that's why they're afraid of, that's the fear, right? Is that the Trumpers are going to come, just like the lady at Arlington National Cemetery. Yeah. She didn't want to come up and speak candidly about what happened with him and his fucking goons, because she didn't want to get fucking doxxed and then have all of her social media and her whole life ruined.
Right.
If Trump magically disappeared from the fucking primary, let's say the primary was run without him, Nikki Haley would be running against Kamala Harris right now.
Maybe.
Absolutely. It wouldn't be Ron DeSantis. He flamed out with fundraising.
Yep.
He flamed out with his own popularity in Florida. And he flamed out nationally. Nobody fucking liked the guy.
That's true, but it was also because Trump was calling him desanctimonious and attacking him because he said he felt that DeSantis owed him a favor. So Trump was attacking DeSantis, and that's what pushed DeSantis from initially when they first started with the primary, and there was the 7 of them. If you took Trump out of it, because there was at least some plausible reads that Trump might not be the candidate because he might be in jail.
Yeah, but then Roe got overturned, and then the Roe got brought up in the news.
It was overturned long before that.
Well, I'm saying it came up in the news and shit like that, and then that's where Nikki Haley became the option for conservative women who are going to decide this. Who are going to decide this election? So when we look at the debate, who is going to get more conservative women? This dude who just went on a fucking tirade about how that wouldn't have been the prize pick for my sexual assault. That's the guy versus her who's saying, I will protect your rights. And that's another reason why DeSantis failed miserably, is because Republicans are wrong on abortion. They just are. And that's not anyone's fault but theirs. And we're not, and Democrats are not going to save them from being wrong about it. That's why that's why their red wave turned into a red trickle, is because they just thought they had it in the bag, that they're just going to push through all this right-wing bullshit and they're going to take over women's bodies. And the right-wing women said, you can take over the country, but not my body.
At whatever point Ron DeSantis signed that 6-week abortion ban, he would have lost himself the primary.
Yep. That would have been it.
Because
he signed that after that though. And the one who really
he was for it the whole time,
the donors. Because the establishment Republican donors,
the donor class is the class that matters in the primaries.
Yes. Which is what we were saying. I don't know about you guys, but I know I was yelling that, look, I hate the whole system. But I knew that if we got rid of Biden, that whoever was the candidate was going to have a huge fucking honeymoon and just kill it with fucking donors. And that's exactly what happened. Because you generated that excitement, and now that honeymoon period is coming to an end. And she did everything perfect. Like, you got to give Kamala Harris's campaign credit. They even turned down the fucking Clinton team. The Clinton team was like, we want to help you out. They said, no.
They said, shut your mouth and don't ever act like you know
us.
Fuck
out of here.
Don't come near me, actually.
Well, what happened to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's ascension to the nomination kind of peaked at the right time.
Yeah.
Because she has like
she has
like 3 times the amount of money that Trump has. The amount of money that the Harris campaign has is disgusting.
It is.
And all of Trump's money is going to his legal cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, the RNC is still paying like his legal, like the down ballot candidates for the Republicans are getting fucked over.
Yep.
They are.
Which is why they're going to lose the House and the Senate during this election, because they are putting their all eggs are in the same.
Senate's a tough one, man.
All their eggs are in the same basket.
It all depends on what happens to Raphael.
It's not a good election for Dems in the Senate because of Joe Manchin.
Too many Dem seats are up this time. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's not going to be good for the Senate. Even if Kamala wins, which I pray she does, I believe we will lose the Senate. Every model that I've looked at says we're going to lose the Senate, because you're automatically taking one away. Joe Manchin's seat is now now you can make an argument that Joe Manchin is a Republican, but at least he was like pro-choice. So you're down one immediately, and it's going to be a fucking lunatic. So, and you've got a couple of really, really tough uphill races. Colin Allred's running really strong in Texas. That's a really good sign. He's not going to win, though. He's probably going to lose like 52-48, but still, that's a really, really strong campaign. The good news is, guys, I genuinely believe 2032, blue Texas. Assuming Trump doesn't destroy the Constitution.
You can try.
Blue Texas and blue North Carolina, it's over. It's over for decades for them. You know, and they're going to do anything that they can. In fact, I just registered to vote. It's fuck. They make it hard as fuck, dude. Hard as fuck.
Oh, you just got to fill out a form online in Connecticut. You just fill it out and bam, you're registered to vote.
I registering to vote in Texas was relatively simple. But I found out that my job is going to have me in Cincinnati on election day, so I won't be here.
The land of Jerry Springer.
Getting an absentee or mail-in ballot is next to fucking impossible. I can't even figure out how to do it.
In Connecticut, all you got to do is you say you're afraid of COVID.
I just tell people I'm illegal and they give me 2 ballots.
They're woke, though.
Minnesota, I have to like fill out a 2-second form online, and I got my primary ballot, and I'll be getting my regular ballot in like a week.
That's the one criticism that I have of the Kamala campaign. There's 2 criticisms. The first criticism is Trump's getting a lot of free advertisement. She needs to go. Now is the time for her to start doing interviews. I agree. She should not have been doing them up until about maybe 3 weeks ago, because you're going to ride that momentum wave while it's there. There was no reason for her to go in front of media until that wave was over. That wave is now over, and it's time for her to get in front of people. She should spend every fucking day in Pennsylvania. If you lose Pennsylvania, it's over. And I love Tim Walz over Josh Shapiro, but I would have gone with Shapiro. Running up the score in Minnesota gets you nothing. We were going to win Minnesota anyway by a couple of percentage points. Now we'll win it by 10. We still get the same amount of votes. I think that if she loses Pennsylvania, that it's going to be that mistake. And I do believe it's a mistake. And that's not against Tim Walz. I love fucking Tim Walz. Tim Walz is a fucking boss.
My governor, bitch. Woo!
He is not going to deliver. I don't believe that he's going to deliver Pennsylvania. And right now we're showing down 1. Last I checked. So they gotta fucking hit the fucking road in Pennsylvania somehow hard. They gotta figure out a way to win that state. If you don't win Pennsylvania, you have to win Nevada, Arizona, and North Carolina to compensate. Or North Carolina and one of those other 2. Because I believe Nevada's 6, Arizona's 11, and North Carolina's 12. And I want to say Pennsylvania's 19 or 20.
Okay.
It's going to be a fucking crazy, bro. Crazy. You thought the last one was crazy? This is going to be fucking crazy.
Nah, it's going to be a washout. She got it.
No, Dutch is right. It's going to be very close. It's a lot closer than last time. It's got shades of Hillary, Trump. Like, Trump's not going to win the popular vote, but he could win the electoral college.
Gore. It's got shades of Gore.
Like,
well, no, then Biden can just take him out.
National polls have Harris ahead by an average of 2 points. Which is
but
the
she has to
margin
be
of
up.
error.
She has to be up 5 to win the electoral college based on the.
Well, yeah, like they were talking earlier on the news about like how Harris.
She's going to win the popular vote.
She has to run up Michigan. She has to run up Pennsylvania, and she has to run up Wisconsin. Those are the 3 states that she has to win.
And Arizona.
If she gets Pennsylvania, she doesn't need Arizona.
If she gets Pennsylvania, she doesn't need Arizona. That's correct. So the way that because I think Georgia's going back red. I think that's inevitable at this point.
I think Texas is going to flip.
I do too, but I don't think it's going to happen this cycle, bro. But I'm telling you, it is going to. Texas is flipping.
So,
and by the way, this whole narrative that people are leaving California and going to Texas because of fucking Democrat policies.
We're talking about Dutch.
It's so fucking stupid.
They were talking specifically about Dutch, who literally left California to go to Texas because he was afraid of liberals and their woke agenda.
It's the stupidest like if you know anything about like American migration patterns and like I was telling a guy earlier today, the same reason people are leaving California for Texas is the same reason they left everywhere else and went to California in the first place. And 20 years from now, they're going to leave Texas for the next fucking hotspot. That's
guys. I'm interrupting. I got to tap out, guys. I'm falling asleep.
All right, night, Alan. Man.
You've done like
have a good night.
Fucking tons of hash.
Yeah, and it's also 1 a.m. where I'm at, Dutch. So
yeah, he's 2 time zones ahead of you.
I got to work tomorrow.
Ollie, man, I will see you in my streams soon.
All right, dude.
And my dream.
Man.
He's out there in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, he's out there.
See you in my dreams.
I'm not in the ocean. I'm in the Gulf of St. Lawrence.
He's way out there in the middle of the Atlantic.
Which is a part of what?
What?
It's a part of the Atlantic River.
All hail the queen.
All right,
hail the
cheers.
queen.
Have a good night.
The king,
night,
the king now.
Extra queen supporter.
Harris is leading Pennsylvania by an average of 1 point.
Is that 538?
Yeah.
Silver did a really interesting talk on this the other day. I've been following this really, really closely. And I would love to, maybe we'll talk about it on my stream one of these days. But Pennsylvania is the state. Right now you've got, and I'm not doing this with the computer in front of me right now, but you've got Michigan, you've got Wisconsin. Michigan was, I mean, I'm not pulling it up, but you have Michigan, Wisconsin. The ones that are within 3 are Michigan, Wisconsin. Let me know if I'm missing one here. North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. I don't believe I'm missing anything. And Pennsylvania, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you give now, Kamala's looking pretty solid in Michigan. So it's looking like Michigan's going to go blue. And Michigan's what, 16, 17?
Yeah, something like that.
So the path that I've been looking at literally puts both Trump, assuming you give now New Mexico could go either way. It's only 6, so it's not really going to make that big of a difference. But assuming Georgia goes red, Michigan goes blue, almost regardless of what happens, and North Carolina is probably going to go red by a fucking 0.5%. Wisconsin's probably going to go blue by a 0.5%.
Wisconsin was the worst state polling wise last time around. It had Biden up by like 17% and he won by like 2%. So Wisconsin, I don't know what's going on up in there, but they are liars. So I would count Wisconsin as a complete toss up.
They're not liars. They just threw a lot of people off the voter rolls.
No,
I think the opposite
Wisconsin is going to go blue.
I think the opposite is true though. In North Carolina, I think that there is some right-wing lean to those polls. I do think though that North Carolina is going to go. You have the map up. What's North Carolina? 12, right?
North Carolina is
13, 12.
Yeah, 12.
So if you give, and Wisconsin I think is 11. So if you give Michigan and Wisconsin to Kamala, and you give North Carolina and Georgia to Trump, you're in this weird fucking place where you've got the 3 that are like super toss-ups: Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Arizona. She didn't go with Mark Kelly, which was another choice she could have made. So Arizona's starting to lean a little bit red, although last I checked, Carrie Lake was underperforming. So it looked like Carrie Lake's going to lose. She's going to lose. Trump's probably going to win.
The worst.
Yeah, she's like horrible. Nevada.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is the only one, in my opinion, that's worse than Carrie Lake.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, running against a black guy who is a brigadier fucking general.
Good luck.
And he's gonna lose by fucking 40 fucking points. I thought they liked the military, but the point is,
Arlington let you know what they thought about
almost 100% chance that whoever wins Pennsylvania is gonna win.
Oh yeah,
it's like 99.9%. The only way that she could possibly win without Pennsylvania is if she somehow pulls off an upset in North Carolina and Arizona, because I'm sorry, but North Carolina and Nevada doesn't pull it off, and Arizona and Nevada doesn't pull it off. You have to win both Arizona and North Carolina to make up for Pennsylvania. And that's why I was so hard for Shapiro, because I had my criticisms of him. He was a IDF volunteer. He wasn't really in the IDF. He just kind of volunteered for him when he was in college.
Doesn't matter.
But that, I mean, it does if we lose. It does if we lose. Unfortunately, it matters.
I mean, that's very half dozen in one hand. Like, that's very catch-22 of you. It's like, well, if she does lose, I can just point to this as the reason why she lost. Like, that's bullshit.
What would be? What do you think, Mikey, would be the bump?
Bullshit.
What do you think is the bump? So let's just look at it this way. Now she could have gone also.
What's
Somebody
the
that they never
question
talked
before you
about.
start telling another story because you were about to ask me something and then you
Well,
distracted
because
yourself?
I was going to add to it that Connor Lamb was never even discussed. I don't know why. Connor Lamb would have been a great vice presidential candidate. And I wish he would have beat fucking Fetterman in hindsight. Jesus fucking Christ, what a fucking letdown that fucking asshole is.
Yeah, Fetterman. Fuck that guy.
Fuck, dude.
We fucking defended you after you had your fucking stroke, and then you're like, you know what? Let's kill everyone.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
What a piece of shit. But
glad you were spared.
The point is, would you acknowledge that if they had gone with Shapiro, that would be about a 2 to 3 point bump in Pennsylvania? Yes or no?
I don't know that. And
I mean,
if you pick Shapiro, how do you win Michigan?
Same way you do with Waltz.
One person is literally, as you have said, an IDF volunteer, and the other person isn't.
I don't think
you can't.
That's a transactional thing.
Well, you can't support the IDF and want to win Michigan at the same time. So you got to pick one.
Michigan is not Minnesota. The Muslim community you're referring to is in Minnesota, not Michigan.
Yeah, Dearborn, Michigan is totally in Minnesota. You're 100% right. The uncommitted vote, which got 22%, the uncommitted vote, which got 22% of the primary vote in Michigan, totally has nothing to do with it. And I'm talking about the wrong state. You're right.
That was a protest vote in a primary. It wasn't a vote in the general.
Do you think
that does not mean that those 22% of people?
So you don't think those people would stay home?
I think a percentage of them definitely would, but I think that those 22%, I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Well, the problem is in Michigan, if like 20,000 people stay home, that's a problem.
Yep.
It is. But I don't think that Josh Shapiro was that I don't think Josh Shapiro was that big of a detriment where he would have caused any sort of big swing. He supports Israel, but no more than Kamala does. Like his position isn't necessarily right of Kamala.
The point was to get,
and he would have swung people in the middle.
The point was to get away from supporting Israel and all of their war crimes. So by picking somebody who is an IDF person, what that says to every Islamic person, every Muslim in this country is, we're going to keep blowing up Muslims indiscriminately, and we don't care about you. And even though that you've begged us to stop, we don't fucking care. And actually, I'm going to bring up an IDF guy to be on my ticket with me.
I get that, but Mikey, that's why I brought Connor Lamb into the conversation before I asked the question, because Connor Lamb was a very, very popular congressman there. He probably was the guy that started the blue wave because of his special election in 2017. And he barely lost the Senate race in the primary to Fetterman in the first place. And I have a feeling if they were to redo that race today, he'd smoke the fucking doors off of fucking Fetterman. So I don't understand why he wasn't even in the running to begin with. Plus, he's a fucking veteran, which always helps. I get that. And that was one of the pluses. But I'm saying that Shapiro was not a veteran. So I didn't understand why he wasn't in the running in the first place. I think he should have been on the short list. But again, this is just Shapiro... me Monday morning quarterbacking. You know what I mean? Like, I totally admit I'm just Monday morning quarterbacking. But
I think Shapiro was shortlisted. He just didn't make
Shapiro. I'm talking about Connor Lamb.
Oh.
Connor Lamb wasn't even in the conversation. And I don't understand why.
They did their vetting in about 2 weeks. So usually it's a months-long process, And they did it in about 2 weeks. They picked like 5 dudes and was like, all right, which one of these guys would be the best?
Well, Mark Kelly would have been a really good choice too. And that gives you the 2-point bump in Arizona. And now you got 11. And yeah, Pennsylvania is not as important. You might still, I don't think that you might still lose Pennsylvania, but you've got a way better, you've got at least 11 more than you got now. And then you only need 1 state instead of 2, you know? So it's like,
again, the millennials want the right thing done and for you to trust in the right thing to win you the election. If you want to keep taking shortcuts and I'm going to pick this person because strategically it does this thing, you cannot escape your duty to the right thing, your duty to ethical leadership in government. There will be no compromise on that going forward. If you compromise that, you're going to lose.
So are you arguing that Mark Kelly is an unethical choice?
If you thought that that's what I said from what I said, I'm going to need you to go back and rewind and re-listen. I'm not restating it. That's not what I said by any stretch of the imagination. So if you got it from that, then that's your homework to go figure out what the hell it means. I'm trying
to figure out what your rebuttal is.
So Mark Kelly wouldn't have been a good choice because they'd have to have someone to fill his seat. And it's not a guarantee that a Democrat would win.
That part is true also, and I understand that. But also the way that I remember that conversation is that the governor would appoint, but then there'd be a special election in 2026 instead of 2028. I don't think it would have been an immediate.
And also, Mark Kelly is a one-term senator. We got to stop promoting one-term senators to vice president. Like, it didn't work out well for J.D. Vance. I'm just saying. Like,
but he's a couch fucker. So
Kamala was a one-term senator. Obama was a one-term senator.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we got to stop that stuff.
Yeah,
but Obama, also, like, do we want
Obama
career guys?
Is like an anomaly.
Yeah,
we do want career guys. I want career guys. I want dudes who have experience in government to run government.
I want Katie Porters. I want Jasmine Crockett.
I want Katie Porters too.
I want people that show up to work every fucking week.
I'm still mad at Jasmine Crockett.
They do their goddamn.
She blew us off,
motherfucker.
She did.
Shut up! I'm talking, bitch. Goddamn, that's what I'm clearing my throat for.
I had you an interview with Jasmine Crockett, and she didn't show up to it.
How do I mute him? Where's the button? You lucky I
can't
find him. You lucky I can't find that motherfucker right now.
Mikey, what did you think about the Olympics?
Shut up.
It was woke.
I will remember my point now.
Ray
because motherfuckers want to talk in the middle of my shit. Like, I ain't talking
Mikey,
already.
You want people who have experience in government to run government.
Yes. Or people who are actively working at work. Like, Boebert only wants to, like, you know, make examples out of herself and get on stage and get clips. Same thing with
give hand jobs.
Same thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these other, like, reactionaries. Like, we don't need that in return. We need motherfuckers who are trying to sit down and do some policy. It's work time. Like Trump was break, right? Like, everybody got the 30-minute break and everybody fucked around and went around and left the office. And we have to finish our job. This is still a country that needs to be governed. All this bullshit politics, like theatrics, is getting a little old a little long in the tooth. Like, we need to know what you guys are doing with fucking student loan debt. We need to know what's going on with the housing prices. We need to know, like, these are actual real issues that have to be addressed. And everyone's acting like they're just like these fringe issues. I could give two shits about the fucking border. These motherfuckers increased our rent $500, $550 over 4 years. Do something now.
Now, to Dutch's point, I do agree that there should be some sort of restriction on how long a senator can be a senator, because at a certain point, there's just corruption. Bob Menendez is a perfect example, a Democrat.
Yeah.
So corrupt. Forever he's been corrupt.
Price of gold, 2016.
Yeah, but there has to be a moderation. The fucking outsider gimmick doesn't fucking work. Yeah. Outsiders don't make good government. Yeah. Trump didn't make good government. Fucking Reagan didn't make good government.
Yeah.
The list can go on. Schwarzenegger didn't make good government.
Like shaking the ball of marbles up just to say, hey, no one's done this in a while, has consequences on future generations. This shaking up of things, you know what? Let's start this war on terror. $20 trillion gone. We were supposed to have college and healthcare and roads, and you put it into war. These things are long lasting in the minds of millennials.
Raytheon's happy.
Now,
like we remember this shit.
We take Harris as an example. Yeah, she was a one-term senator and then she became vice president. However, before that, she was a district attorney. Yep. She was a prosecutor. She worked in policy. essentially,
Right.
for her entire career, and she was an attorney general.
That was true of Mark Kelly though too. Mark Kelly was in Congress
God,
and
get
he
a
was
room.
military and NASA.
Get a room. He's not in the fucking race anymore. Get a room.
But that's the conversation.
You're just standing for your boyfriend. I get it.
The difference is that Harris was a senator from California, a safe Democratic stronghold, and she could be sacrificed to the vice presidency. And Mark Kelly lives in a very purple state.
Right.
Yeah. And you cannot sacrifice him
and Governor
hope
Walz
that you'll get another Democrat.
Can be sacrificed because now we have Peggy Flanagan, long-serving lieutenant governor with a good history and the first Native American that's going to hold the governorship of Minnesota.
Wow.
I'm glad.
That's big.
Glad that we all agreed that we're going to sacrifice politicians.
I'm
into
not,
the volcano.
Governor Walz.
I'm not sold on the argument that you pick the vice president based on whether or not their Senate seat is safe, and obviously.
Well, that's not the only metric, but
Kamala was a great example of that. J.D. Vance is a great example of that because it's going to be another Republican in Ohio. Ohio is a red state now, unfortunately. It's not like a bright red state, but it's pink enough where it's, it's not realistic.
Heard it here
in the next
first.
few years. So, but I'm not convinced of that particular argument. I think Kamala was the wrong choice in 2020. I said that in 2020. I thought it should have been Val Deming. I think Val Deming could have possibly delivered Florida.
Who is Val Deming?
Exactly. His favorite. He loved her. He had a crush on her.
Val Deming. You remember that I'm very consistent with this.
Yeah, you've had a crush on her for years.
Val Deming was a fucking good fucking congresswoman. She was a solid congresswoman. She was a strong fucking voice. She was a member of the Congressional Black Caucus and a former police chief who at the time it would have worked well with that whole defund the police narrative that was big in Florida and possibly could have delivered Florida because at the time in 2020 Florida was still considered a swing state. That's obviously not the case anymore. And it may not have delivered Florida, but we won, and that's that. But what was Susan Rice would have been I think a good pick too. I was just like, why run up the score in California? That makes no fucking sense. We're going to win California anyway. I get your argument about
it wasn't about running up the score in California. It was about having
a safe seat.
No, it was about having the profile of someone who went into the primaries. Kamala did fairly well in the primaries. And then
no, she didn't.
But she had a national profile. Nobody knows who Val Demings is. Nobody. So if you say I make Val Demings the vice president, people are going to go, all right, whatever. Like, except for her, I assume, not even. Maybe like half of her constituents knows who she is because constituents are idiots.
Well, in Florida,
she was going to try to de-seat Marco Rubio. She lost.
And did she win?
I mean, that was a loss before
she couldn't beat Marco Rubio. So
I mean,
but you could also make the same argument about Governor Walz. No one knew who he was before he was pushed into the VP slot, and now he's beloved by the left.
Yeah, it's Coach Walz.
But he was also VPs are usually governors of states,
right?
Sure.
Or senators, a VP is usually the profile of someone that you want to elevate to be the next president.
Right.
Well, yeah, I think Kamala should serve one term and then Governor Walz is president.
I would be perfectly fine with that. But then when we had that conversation, Mark, I can promise you that when it comes time for Walz to pick his VP candidate, if it's close, I'm going to advocate for someone from a swing state. That's just what I'm going to do.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders will be dead by then.
Yeah,
Bernie.
You don't know.
Bernie's boat has sailed. I have 2 Bernie shirts. I mean, I campaigned for Bernie Sanders. Like, I door knocked for that fucking guy.
Yeah, I made phone calls for him.
So I still have my Bernie shirts that they gave us.
I made my profile picture a Photoshop Bernie Sanders.
The only presidential rally I've ever been to was a Bernie Sanders rally.
I've never been to one.
Was it lit,
I've-
fam?
It was lit.
Oh, and one other quick thing on Pennsylvania. So I've heard rumblings about this, and I think that it's such a fucking savvy political move that Trump is definitely going to do it, and probably a couple of days before the election, he's going back to the site of the assassination attempt, which is in Pennsylvania. And that's going to be a big fucking news thing, and that's going to hurt us in Pennsylvania.
What day is he going?
What day is the election?
Don't answer
November 5th.
Don't answer
The
that.
6th,
Don't
5th?
don't answer
No,
that.
I'm gonna-
Hey, I need you to trust me right now. Don't finish that joke. Just talk about something else.
I'm going to say October 30th.
What part, motherfucker, do you not understand?
That wasn't a joke. I wasn't making a joke. I was making a prediction.
All right. We'll talk after this when we're not
We need to
streaming
just
so
have-
that the NSA can listen to us. You do not get what I fucking like. I'm literally saying we need to not finish that for liability reasons. And you're like, October 30th. Like, shut the fuck up. It's made
I'm
up
pretty sure
until
that-
you add a date to it. Like, don't.
Dutch, you're getting a phone
the
call.
scene
Yeah,
is gonna
man.
still be closed.
Why am I getting a phone call? I'm saying I'm predicting a rally date.
You're gonna have a floral van show up out front of your house.
We are not affiliated.
Jake's Plumbers. Like,
I don't know him. I don't know
yeah,
him.
I don't know him either. How did he get in here?
Go Trump. Trump 2028.
What the fuck?
I'm starting a merch store. It's happening.
Can we rap?
Yeah, let's wrap.
Let's rap.
Because I got a meeting in the morning.
Yo, my name is Dutch, and I'm here to
here we
say
go.
I
What
love
was-
women in a major way.
What was your rap name, Dutch?
The French Prince of Bel-Air.
Bleach. That's right.
Yeah.
Bleach.
Milky white.
The whitest of whites. Turn
I'm the
even
milkiest guy.
I'll turn you black white with bleach.
MC Milky.
Milk
I'm the
toast.
milkiest guy. They say I'm pretty fly for a white guy.
That milky.
I gotta go to bed.
All right, so
Yeah,
so for the 5 of you that are still here that aren't us, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you guys checking out the stream. What is today? Tuesday. Are we doing a show tomorrow, Tim?
Yeah, why not?
All right, we're gonna have live tomorrow.
Have a
Unbox
meeting.
politics. Shut up. I'll probably have some sort of Filthy Americans broadcast if I can get a hold of Lady Phoenix. So I think we're probably only got like 1 or 2 shows for the rest of the week. Make sure you guys go to our ways to support us.
Wayne's refrigerator.
Like the video. Dutch, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
My number is
You don't have a
Social
630
Security,
number. Fuck out of here.
439.
You haven't had
I
a
think
630 number in 10 years.
Oh, I still actually do have a 630
That's
number.
funny.
Sir.
You still holding on
Yes.
to it,
You call me. You know my fucking number.
bro. I click on your face and then your name is there. I don't have no idea what your fucking phone number is.
I'm gonna start Twitching. It's at Dutch Jason on Twitch. I think most of your listeners are already there. But if you're not, at Dutch Jason on Twitch, I'm gonna probably have Mikey on later this week or next week when I start back again. And then Tim, I will certainly have on for some election conversation because he and I think, are the 2 idiots who follow this the closest.
How
in
dare
America.
you? I follow it better than both of you guys. You just
No,
don't listen to me.
I'm talking about like maps and like the map porn part of it.
You just
So,
like porn. Oh,
I
by
do
the way, all you guys are gonna lose your porn if Trump gets in. Project 2025. You're welcome.
That's also true, except not map porn though. I don't think that he's going to ban Johnny here.
all porn. Food porn's gone too.
I'm stuck, step bro.
Mark, it was
get
good.
stuck in the dryer, step bro.
Good meeting you, Mark. Sorry I called you old.
I'm 63.
You fucking boomer.
He's thousands of years old.
He's Bernie Sanders.
Mark was
My
here when the planet
401k
cooled.
is this big, bitch.
The toughest, biggest 401k you ever saw with veins.
Look at
White
Kamala's
people
face right there. That's so great.
Look
But
at her, she's
anyway,
like, look at her. She's like, come on, stupid. Come on, keep saying it.
she's got that thinking man pose. That's so good.
Oh no, you know what that is? That's the Willy Wonka.
That's right there. That's it. That's the one you want right there.
It's the Willy Wonka meme of interesting. Tell me some more. Like,
Oh yeah, that's exactly right.
all right. Well,
All right, guys,
more stuff to come from the network. Spread us around. We got new shows coming. So we got Filthy Americans. We got Euro Trash. We got Unboxed Politics. We got Speaking from the Center. We got The Culture Under Review. And we got, War, Death, Pestilence, and Famine. The doom scrolling newscast where I'm going to do like the actual headlines, whether or not it makes you feel good or not. Because I think that needs to be said. So we're going to be doing all that stuff. All that stuff's coming on the horizon. Drink heavily. Have some water and some aspirin tonight. See you guys in the morning. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, wait, I didn't push my button.
I'm allergic to water.
Diet water.
Wait, what's this one?
Is that just air?
Are we doomed?
Yes.
Are we off?
Good.